Prophet Marshall Occurrence back up in this. So this video is gonna be about Moses didn't make it to the promised land. Moses didn't make it to the promised land. This has to be understood because it's a lot of people who don't take that part from the story of Moses. They didn't understand how the story ended. I mean, some people could even be kind of, because Moses is who he was on earth, they can be kind of scramble-brained when it comes to the whole timeline of Moses. So this video is putting emphasis on the end of Moses' life and how he didn't make it to the promised land. And it's another testament of someone being a prophet and not doing the right thing, not doing what God wanted them to do, succumbing to their human nature, losing, falling off. And so, that's just what I want to make clear in this video, is the end of Moses' life. Because how I know most people don't know is because it's not in the culture. It's not emphasized in through teachers and even preachers. Anytime they mention Moses, it's always about going to the promised land. But Moses didn't make it to the promised land. That's the part people leave out. So if you're just a listener and you're not a student of the Bible, you will walk away thinking Moses led everybody to the promised land, and he was in the promised land himself. He led the people to the promised land, but people died along the way too, for their own sins. Did you hear what I said? For their sins. Not because they ain't have enough food. No, they died making bad decisions themselves, just like Moses. So from Egypt to the promised land, a lot of people died along the way, and Moses didn't make it to the promised land himself. Okay? I want to make this very clear. The subtitle also, a subject, I would say, a subject would be, the black community struck God's people in anger, and they can't make it to the promised land as a result. America struck God's people in anger, and they can't make it to a progressive promised land, a progressive next stage, nor a progressive global community that's moving forward globally together. America's not going to make it. This is the prophecy that I received yesterday. Because they struck God's people, America struck God's people. See, they thought they was going to be able to sweep me and other people like me under the rug like they always did. They swept a lot of good black people under the rug. Yes, they did. They swept a lot of good black people under the rug. But this time, it was not allowed. It was not allowed this time. So, this is a prophetic message, a very prophetic message about where this is going as far as America, because see, while they working everything out with everybody else, they ain't working it out with the prophet. They ain't working it out with the prophet. And I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why America, why they even working with Iran. It's hate for the prophet. You know why? Because I single-handedly exposed Donald Trump for not addressing child marriage laws and being in the White House while people was married, while they passed laws to marry children. The last time y'all passed laws to marry children in the United States, Donald Trump was the president in his first term. Nobody said nothing. Trump didn't say nothing. Trump is yet to say something. And once he found out the whole message, which was for me, child marriage and Trump in office, the last time y'all passed laws, he didn't like me. Can't you see Trump not liking me? Oh, he didn't like me. You know why he didn't like me? Because I named him as the president when the laws were passed. And he caught whiff of it. That I'm the one that exposed this timeline, the only person. Even people that talk about child marriage, they ain't talking about the new child marriage laws. They ain't talking about the ones passed while Trump was president. Go show me somebody talking about the ones that were passed while all these advocates for child marriage, right? Go find the ones that publicize something about Trump as president while the new laws got passed. Say it like that, understood like that, where you understand it like that. Go find that person. I mean, I don't think it's out there. I don't think it's out there, but I ain't seen it. You ain't seen it happen. That's all I'm saying. You ain't seen it happen. I'm the only one that brought child marriage laws to the relevant community to realize, to show you how relevant it was, where you passed new child marriage laws while Trump was president. And Trump ain't said nothing about it. So I want you to really think about that. Look how relevant that is. Look how relevant. How much more relevant can it be? The same president that is president right now was the president when y'all passed the new child marriage laws to marry children in America. He was the president. He said nothing about it. So once he found out about me, he couldn't stand me because I exposed his incompetency, and any real man gonna say, what was I doing? Why didn't I do anything about that? And then you look back at the person that exposed you, and guess what? Instead of humbling yourself and taking the correction, instead of humbling yourself, guess what you do? You despise the person that exposed you. That's what happened. You despise the person that exposed you. That's why they can work it out with Iran. They can work it out with all these other people, but they don't want to work it out with me. You know why? It's almost like they're insinuating that they're not going to work it out with me. You know why? Because they mad about me exposing Trump for being in office and doing nothing. He works everything out everywhere else, right? But he ain't do nothing about the child marriage laws. He working it out with Iran. He working it out with France. I'm just exaggerating. He working it out with everybody. But he ain't working it out with the prophet, is he? See, nobody ain't coming to me and having a conversation. I need money for national defamation of character. National defamation of character. That's what I would take to the courts. National defamation of character. Nationwide, all over the country. Nationwide, national defamation of character. Okay? That's what it is. So that's the laws. That's the charges I got on the table. I got real charges on the table. You ain't know that, did you? Oh, you thought, oh, he ain't gonna be able to say what it was. Oh, I just did. He ain't gonna be able to take it to the courts. He wouldn't be able to do it. He wouldn't be able to arrest us. He wouldn't be able to prove nothing in court. National defamation of character. That's what it is. So here we are. Where they didn't work it out with the prophet. In fact, the Americans put me in this building on purpose to play psychological games, to play mind games in the whole neighborhood. They gridded off a whole neighborhood. The grocery store was in on the conspiracy. The merchants at the grocery store was enemies. The black people in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue was enemies. The building I'm living in, enemies. All in conspiracy by the Americans. Oh, I know everything. I just didn't respond like you thought I should respond, where I'm running around with a chicken, like a chicken with my head cut off. That's what you expected me to do. Especially as a black man, you expected me to be frantic. That you expected me to be frantic, hysterical, panicking. This the word they expect me to be, petrified. Buddy, I've been through this for years and years. You don't really know how long this been going on, do you? Sound like an R&B song, don't it? You don't know how long this been going on. You don't know how long this been going on, do you? Why would I be frantic and panicking right now? I have no reason to. I really don't. My objective has been accomplished here in New York City. The reason why I came here. The reason why I came here, out of all the times I came to New York City, I came this time to get off the streets in order to achieve my spiritual military objective of this country coming to a place of collapse. And I would do that by spiritual means and not by physical means. I'm not a soldier that they can lock up because I don't have any physical operations. That's why, if you notice, much as I talk and the most as I project myself, I don't make any mistakes. I don't make any mistakes and incriminate myself and say, I'm going to go out here and do something physically to anybody, right? So all my operations is by spiritual means. That's why they had to use psychological games as a response, because it wasn't nothing anybody was going to let them do, and I ain't doing nothing physically. So you see why they use psychological means, witchcraft and all of this stuff. That's why they had to do that, because nobody wasn't going to let them. There was no justification for fighting a person that's not doing anything physically. Okay, so I don't mind telling you my spiritual mission that was by spiritual means. I had spiritual fastings and I gave offerings to Vietnam, Japan, Taiwan, Egypt, Colombia, Mexico City. I've been sending money to Mexico City. And I'm just saying it in the context of my objective. And now it has collapsed. This country has collapsed to a certain degree. I can see it. It's in the air. It's obvious. It's no need for me to stay any longer. I mean, I'm ahead of schedule. I've fasted for a number of 77 days in Brooklyn, since I've been to Brooklyn. In New York, since I've been back, I fasted over 100 days. So easily 100 days. About like 120, 130, something like that. So I'm ahead of schedule as a result, where I don't feel the need to get an apartment here. I don't feel the need to live here. I don't feel the need to do that. And because how I've been treated, like I told you, where I've been put on the grid and ran around like Mario Brothers, running down the street, and they got little games every block. I mean, that's how it was. Literally, man. Like stuff on the ground, little psychological stuff on the ground. I'm serious. And it's insulting to a man of my caliber. It really is, man. I'm a soldier. I'm a real soldier. One thing I would note, and I've been wanting to say this lately, you don't have to go to the military to be a real soldier. Now, if you steal valor, stealing valor is when you say you served and did tours and you didn't. That's stealing valor. Long as you're not stealing valor, you can proclaim yourself as a real military soldier. Because I mean, all it is a matter of is training. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is train yourself psychologically and physically, and voila, you're a soldier. That's all it takes. And it's the same thing if you go to the military. You go to the military, You're going to receive training. So you can't let people intimidate you and act like you're. I guess a lot of Americans will think stealing valor is and it's kind of a Jedi mind trick so that you actually don't train yourself as a soldier, because you will be a threat against the powers that be in the community if you are a trained soldier. But I think some Americans think if I even say I'm a soldier and I haven't been to the military, I'm stealing valor. That's not stealing valor. Stealing valor is when you say you served in tours and you didn't. That's stealing valor. Not even saying you enlisted into the military. That's not even stealing valor. I mean, you could say it is, but in most cases, stealing valor is when you said you did a certain tours, you did tours and you didn't. Which means you fought in a battle. You say you fought in a battle and you didn't. See, that's the valor part. The valor part is not enlisting in the military. The valor part is you fought in a battle. You fought honorably in a battle, and you're stealing the valor of that. You're stealing the valor of the battle. That So if you didn't say that you fought in some battle, you're not stealing valor by saying you're a soldier. Because what clarifies you as a soldier is your training. That's what even the authorities will say. They have to take you seriously if you've been trained. And you got people that, for example, they're in militias. You got militias. A militia trains its members to be militant, right? If you go to other countries, this is a perfect example. You got radical militant organizations, and those men are trained. They're a certain type of military. Like if you go to Africa and you go to South America, you got trained, militant-minded people, and they did not enlist in no military, but they got the training. They're militant-minded. They know how to shoot guns. They know how to do all the things that a soldier do. So basically, ultimately, being a soldier is boiled down to your training, okay, or the lack thereof, if we are to criticize it. So, you don't let anyone tell you, well, oh, you're not a soldier. Oh, what you're insinuating I'm stealing valor. I ain't said nothing about valor, have I? I haven't said anything about fighting battles with the U.S. military, have I? Okay, see, that's almost the insinuation. As soon as you say you're a soldier, people go straight to U.S. military. But see, to me, that's a Jedi mind trick to keep you feeling you couldn't even be a soldier unless you joined the military. That's not true. The first thing I noticed of how to be a homegrown soldier is those who are homeless on the streets. I became a soldier. I became a homegrown soldier from being on the streets. It's just how you utilize it. You got to fend for yourself. You got to have psychological strength. You're alone. You're by yourself. You're in the elements. You're in the rain. You're in the snow. I've been homeless. Rain, snow, heat, everything. Every kind of weather you can imagine. I've been homeless in any kind of weather you can imagine. Florida weather, hot heat, hot weather. You wake up, you're already sweating. You wake up sweating. I've been in the snow, been homeless in the snow. Literally, outside. Sleeping under the bridge while there's snow everywhere. I done that. Rain. Where you laying on blanket, where your blankets is wet from rain and you laying in the rain. You ever been through that? That's what makes you right there as far as being homeless. That's the most humiliating feeling that you could feel if you're a civilian. But once you become a soldier, it's nothing. It's nothing anymore. But that's worse than the heat, the snow, everything. The most humiliating experience with being homeless is not the food, not even defecating outside. Most people don't even have this conversation. What is the most humiliating thing that you go through being homeless? Consistently, because everything you get used to, asking people for food, defecating outside, urinating outside. What is the most humiliating thing consistently through the whole experience? It's gonna be getting rained on outside. You ever been laying in the rain with sheets and then it started raining and you just laying there? You don't get up. Ain't nothing you can do. You lay there with wet sheets, laying in the rain. That's what breaks you into becoming beyond being a civilian to a soldier. It's how you utilize it. If you utilize it where you get crazy, you get mad, and you remain a civilian. You didn't take the experience and become a soldier. That's what I did. Once I went through that, being rained on, and the feeling where as a civilian you used to, okay, I can go run in the house. I can go somewhere. I can go, not this time, right? You're homeless on the streets, you can't go nowhere, right? That's where you become a soldier. It's the psychology. That's why when I came back to situations like this, where this is a whole grid, I knew what it was. I mean, it couldn't break me because I've been on the streets too long as a soldier. I grew myself, homegrown, as a soldier on the streets. It's how you utilize it. Like the old school say, it ain't what you do, it's how you do it. You go through the streets as a soldier, or you go through the streets as a bum. I went through the streets as a soldier. I fended for myself. I got my own food. I suffered through all the elements. I had to guard my mind psychologically. I never was suicidal. If you suicidal, you go on the streets, you could kill yourself. If you ain't strong-minded, ain't nobody gonna stop you. Ain't nobody gonna stop you. How you gonna survive? You gotta have a strong mind. You gotta become one with self. You gotta love self and become one with self on the streets. And I ain't never thought about suicide the whole time. So then, anytime I get put under pressure, I'm not gonna fold, man, because I've been on the streets. Even people in prison would tell you, if you've been on the streets, you strong, buddy. You a strong man. You gotta guard your mind psychologically, where you don't crack and just give up and just say, I don't want to live, I want to die, whatever. So it gives you a certain posture, and that posture becomes hardened, like cement. Okay, first you build and mold what you be in that position, and once you stay in that position, you harden yourself. It hardens, and now you're just a concrete, hardcore soldier, hardcore survivor. Because a soldier is really about surviving, and how we know that for sure is because let's just say, for example, you beat your enemies with guns in a tour, right? Now you got to survive on the land. Let's say you don't get picked up by, the forces that's with you. You don't get picked up. So you got to survive in the woods or wherever. That's the other part of being a soldier. They train you not just to shoot in combat. They train you also, any military around the world trains you also to be able to survive in the elements. So that's the part of being a soldier that most urban people don't have in America. You got the gun part down packed, but the other part of being a soldier is two parts. It's twofold. It's fighting battles and fighting the elements. And that's the part that people don't talk about. That's what everybody say, stay elementary. It's not as elementary as you think it is as an experience. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what to eat. You got to have information. You got to know about temperatures, weather, all of that kind of stuff. And so it will come times where you beat your enemy physically, but then there's a void. Now you have to fight the weather. You have to fight the elements. That's your enemy. And so you can win wars with guns, but lose to the elements. And see, that's what's going to start happening in the future. A lot of people, when they can win wars in the physical world, but they lose according to the elements. If this world falls off, many people can shoot it out, but they lose according to the elements. They lose according to these elements. Where you ain't teach yourself about nothing about food, edible plants, edible nuts, like acorns. People don't even know you can eat acorns. You can eat all that kind of stuff. Daisies, you can eat daisies. A lot of people don't know that. Okay, so I began to just brush over things about what I can eat and what I cannot eat, as far as edible plants and nuts and things like that. And that's going into the second part of being a soldier, or the other part of being a soldier, which is to fight the elements, survive the elements. A lot of people ain't gonna be able to do that. You can stay warm, you can bundle up. That's not gonna be good enough, because you still could get hypothermia and die. And you think you bundling up and you still die. You know, you gotta know what to do and how to stay warm and all those things. You gotta be able to read the weather. I remember I met a military man, and he taught me how to see rain from far different, from like another county. He showed me like the clouds. You would think it'd be easy to see, but it wasn't a dark cloud. It was just like a dark shimmer under the cloud. He said, that's rain right there. See, I listen to military people. I listen to them. That's the best thing you can do. And you know what people don't do that they probably want people to do? They never ask the details of the tours. Most people don't. All you do is say, thank you for your service, right? But you never say, well, how was the war? You know how glad they probably would be to answer that question? Well, how was the war? Well, you know, take me back to boot camp. How you started out in boot camp? How you started out in boot camp? Who was your favorite instructors? See, many civilians never even pick their brain. This is the stuff they can't wait to tell other people, and can't wait but they don't volunteer the conversation. I mean, I guess out of humility. You know, they want to be like, yeah, well, you know, let me tell you my stories about it. But they're glad to tell you if you ask, I would imagine, you know. But I have to be honest, I never really picked the brains of people that I was around that served in the military. I didn't really pick their brains as much as I could have. I mean, they volunteered certain little things, you know, but I didn't pick their brain about like how they started out boot camp and who was their favorite instructors and woo, you know. I didn't go through all of that. How was it eating and everything, the whole timeline, and their friends and comrades and all of that. I didn't really do that. But that's something you should do. You know, because you'll be amazed at how many military is really not on the side of the government. They're not really with the government like you think. They're not as loyal. The police is more loyal to the government than the military. See, they have to strip us. They have to strip you if you're dangerous and powerful. That's why you notice most veterans don't have nowhere to live. You notice that? Most military is not well off. Military have more honor codes than police. Police can be dirty cops all the time. All the time. Dirty military comes here and there. But the soldiers, military is more like the streets. They got honor codes, you know, everything like that. They keep it real, they keep it 100. They thorough, you know. Police is more prone to be, that's the word we use in the South. They're more prone to be, or inclined to be more like civilians. They don't have no honor codes. They don't really have no codes. The only honor codes they got is to protect their own colleagues or their counterparts. That's the only little codes they got. So I don't trust police because they ain't got no honor. Military have honor codes. You can see it in their heart. They would die for their friends. Police they would die for their friends, and they would die for other people. Police won't do that. Police will shoot you first before they die for you. They won't die for you. They'll shoot you before it comes between their life and yours. They're going to shoot you. So I have more respect for military than police all day. Police is the ones that started these problems. They don't think we know. I know. They played their part. And now they might be trying to make it right, but you already played your part, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, just like I said, just like Beatrice said in Kill Bill. No, Bill said this in Kill Bill. Some things he was telling his daughter in front of Beatrice once she came to his house, right? At the end. He told his daughter in front of Beatrice that some things you do can't be undone. They can't be undone. The police was involved in the worst way against me. In the way that disgusts Americans. Just like we think they are, that's how they was with me. I want you to think about that. Just how you think police are, that's how they was with me. Playing around with me, playing around, don't got no evidence, trying to make it seem like it's something that it's not. That's all they did, right? Police did everything that you think, the negative stuff you think, they did all that to me. And they're not gonna get out of it without a bag, without money. If I don't get a bag, it's always gonna be a war. That's just what it is. See, they treated me like John Rambo in the movie Rambo. If you remember the first Rambo, I'm the real life Rambo. And I say that, most people say that for just combative reasons, like having guns and everything, but they don't have the real story of Rambo. I got the real story of Rambo. Rambo was a homeless man. No. Rambo, the first Rambo, let's go back and remember. Rambo was a drifter. Back in those times, that's what they would call him. You would call him now a hobo or a bum. But see, a white boy is called a drifter. He ain't a bum. Oh, he a drifter. They jazzed it up, didn't it? Cause white parents had to make it look make it look like something. Oh, my son's a drifter. Really? Well, it don't look like he drifting too much. He a drifter. Well, why ain't drifting? He's sitting on the block. I ain't drifting. Hey, white people call they homeless family drifters. So we'll use that for John Rambo. John Rambo was a drifter. He was He was in the military. He was a drifter. He was veteran military. He was a homeless man on the streets, a drifter. And he was walking through the town. That's how the movie started. The police just got him, stopped, and asked him some questions. Just some random, arrogant pig cop, right? Mind you, police. He was the police, wasn't it? Yes, it was the police. He had knives, just like I have knives. I got the knives like John Rambo, and John Rambo had the big old knives. Same thing. I got a reputation for that. Carrying knives around. Just like John Rambo. All the way down to the whole story. So when I say I'm Rambo, I'm not talking about even the combative part, the gun part, because John Rambo started out ironically. For people that say they Rambo because of the guns, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But let's just play with the reality of the real situation. John Rambo started out with knives in the movie. In the movie, he started out with a knife. The police pulled a knife off of him, a big old knife. That's John Rambo didn't have no pistol on him. John Rambo started out with a knife. He only got guns when he started getting them off the police. That's when he got the guns. In the first Rambo, John Rambo didn't get no guns until he beat up the cops and got the guns off the cops. Before that, John Rambo had nothing but a knife on his person. Just like I was on the streets. Walking around like John Rambo and the police playing. I'm glad that movie was made because, see, whoever wrote the movie understood how the cops are and how the world is. Where you could be just you're not a loser, but you're on the streets. And somebody thinks you're somebody to play around with, you're someone to kick around. That's what he thought. They underestimate you. They play games with you. That's what the police do. That's what the society do. So if you ain't really been through that on ground level where you was drifting, that's a psychology. Where you gotta hold yourself together, you on the streets. John Rambo started out homeless. And he was played with by the police. And he had a weapon on him. Okay? That's the whole John Rambo story. And he didn't do anything. Now, you couldn't charge him. I'm the same way. And that's the whole punchline for the fullness and entirety of how I'm the story of Rambo. They still can't tell you what I did. They can't prove it. That's the same thing with John Rambo, right or wrong. Now you see why I would think that. Now you see why I would think that. Okay, you drifting around the city, the community, whatever. You keep weapons on you, keep knives on you. That's just how you feel comfortable as a soldier. I feel comfortable as a self-grown, a self-homemade soldier, trained by me and by God. I feel comfortable with weapons. You know what I'm saying? People take that a different type of way. But anyway, I drift. I literally drift. Like I'm about to leave in a couple of days and go back down south. I can't be played with, man. I can't be played with. This organization is the main reason. This organization put me here for 9 months. This 10 months I've been here, almost a year. Now, the Jedi mind trick is, you would say for housing, well, I wait for a house for 2 years. But if you know that this organization gets people housing in 2 to 3 months, that's the first time I got an apartment 2 to 3 months. But you now know what I'm explaining. This organization worked with the Americans to put me, when I came and asked for their help to get the housing, right? They utilized that whole opportunity to see who I was and investigate me over and over again. It's become personal. It is personal. I take it personal. I'm supposed to take it personal because you personalizing it towards me. Now, if you treated everybody in this building like that, and I noticed that everybody is getting gang stalked and everybody's on a grid in the whole neighborhood and everybody complaining about it, then I wouldn't feel like it was personal, but I know it's personal. Because I'm somebody you couldn't beat. I'm the perfect example of what you're scared of. Somebody you can't beat. Somebody you can't defeat. And somebody you can't see. Just like John Rambo. That's just the same thing. So when I say I'm like John Rambo, it's the whole story that I couldn't help but notice that was similar to mine. To my real life story. Where the police was playing with me all in the streets. Everybody know. It wasn't just the community because it was too sophisticated for it to be just the community. That's how I figured it out. It wasn't the streets. It wasn't the thugs. See, they'll play it like it's the streets. And if you black, you'll see all these black people and you'll think it's the streets if you stupid. But if you keep paying attention, how you go from one city to the other and it's the streets? That's the police and the streets and the community. Better to say it's the police and the community, with the police leading the way, because they are the ones that get the merchants and all these stores to take what they telling them seriously. If it was the thugs, they ain't gonna take a thug telling them, oh, this pedophile is in town, he gonna be coming in here, this is how he look. They gonna think, man, what is you talking about? And then you ain't got no authority to lock them up anyway. So they don't want to be involved in that. So who has to come to the merchants and the people when you're on the grid? When they got you on the grid, which means all the stores, the whole community, the little girls, all of them are gang stalkers, right? How do they get the stores to take the story seriously about you? They have to send police that go in like rats, pigs that go in like rats and talk to the merchants when we not looking, when we're not there. The police is gonna come and talk to the people. And they're going to tell the merchants that there's a known pedophile. I guarantee you that's the terms they've been using. But they couldn't prove that you was a known pedophile. They couldn't prove you was a known whatever. They couldn't prove that. But that's how they get everybody on board, right? To try to check you out. So when you come in the grocery store, you notice the energy is off. Well, how did the streets tell them? How did the streets get them on that like that? It had to be somebody else. If you just left and went to one place in the other and the same energy is there. How's the same energy from one neighborhood to the next? And it's the streets. The streets ain't that sophisticated, man. The streets is not that sophisticated. They watching. They moving along with it, but they not the backbone of the structure of the whole situation. The structure is the police. See, I figured it out. That it was too sophisticated for it to be the streets. Did you hear what I said? Why you don't take me seriously? I know every move you making. How you gonna treat me like I'm a man child? I esteem you as man childs. See, you gotta make it known. That's one thing about a man. A man gotta stand up and speak for himself. Because if you don't, they'll have you out here looking like you retarded, like you a man child. You got to stand up and speak for yourself. That's what a real man got to do. Now you clear the air, and now people know what it is. Now, if you didn't do that, they'll be sitting back thinking you retarded, or you a man child, or whatever else. You have to clear the air. So I know it's the police that's going around from neighborhood to neighborhood and talking to the merchants. The merchants is the people that sell you stuff at these stores. If you don't know, it's kind of a dated term, but I like using that term. I just like using it in these situations. I like using that terminology when we talk about the grid. The merchants is the ones that they using. They going to how all them people gonna comply to thugs? That's the question you gotta ask yourself. If you being gang stalked, how they gonna comply to everybody gonna comply systematically with thugs and organize themselves with thugs? They're not gonna do that. Only the police can make the community move in structure and organization like that. So I already know it's the police by the organization of it. That's how I know. Okay? But I can show you your worst sex predator was Shaderick Jones, of Officer Shaderick Jones down in Iberville, Louisiana, that made a black mother perform a sex act on her 1-year-old child. Look up Shaderick Jones, Officer Shaderick Jones, down in Iberville, Louisiana. This was a cop that came to a woman's house to serve a sex traffic. Excuse me. It was a woman. He came to a woman's house to serve a traffic violation ticket. Right after hours, after his shift, which was sketchy in itself. That's how it was said. He coerced the woman into performing a sex act on her 1-year-old child to stay out of jail. Most women would have said, you can go ahead and kill me before I do something like that. You can go ahead and shoot me down right now. This woman obviously was mental, but she wouldn't have done it on her own. It was the frailty of her mental state that that the police took advantage of to even get that done in the first place. So for the police institution, the worst pedophile history is Officer Shadarick Jones that made a woman perform a sex act on a 1-year-old child. And I don't care if he's in jail or not. Listen, you trying to Jedi mind trick. I'm telling you what the worst thing has been done. We talking about the worst thing been done. Whether he in jail or not, sucker. We talking about the worst thing been done. The worst thing been done in your country is Officer Shadarick Jones. Police officer. Supposed to train to serve the country. Train to protect the children. This is why I'm against you. Because when we find out, and you should Google this too for yourself, child molesting police officers that sexualize children, it's so many of them, you'll lose count. Year after year after year. And it's not really put on the news because they try to save face for the police institution of America. That's why when you look up Shadarick Jones, you will not find him on CNN or Fox News. You won't find him on MSNBC, NBC, ABC. You won't find him on none of those news outlets, and he made a woman perform a sex act on her 1-year-old child. That's uno. Why wasn't it on CNN? Why can't you find any news clips, and you find news clips about retarded stuff, but you couldn't find a news clip about that? Why you couldn't find a news clip about it? Because they tried to save face. The Freemasons probably stepped in to save face for the police institution, the credibility, the reputation for the police institution, to try to protect that. That's all it was. Because how can you explain it any other way? A 1-year-old child gets molested by its own mother. In our present day and time, Donald Trump was the president. Trump didn't say nothing about that. Oh, he said something about Nancy, that woman that got lost, that's dead and lost and dead. He said something about her. She already old. He said something about her. Listen. He ain't say nothing about that 1-year-old child, did he? Why Donald Trump didn't say nothing about it? Huh? Come on, man. Listen. Trump didn't say nothing about Officer Shadarick Jones, and probably because he loves the police. He loves them pigs so much, don't he? He loves them pigs so much, don't he? Oh, he already said if somebody killed the police, he give them the death penalty. He loved them pigs, don't he? On the farm, on McDonald's farm, old McDonald has a farm. On Donald Farm, he loved them pigs on his farm, don't he? Old McDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. A pig there and a pig there. Hey, man, listen. Trump loved them pigs, don't he? Pig everywhere, old McDonald. Hey, man, listen. I think it's racist. Ain't it kind of funny how McDonald's became the best restaurant? I think that's racist. You know why I think that? Because it's like the farm represents the plantation. Old McDonald had a farm. You see what I'm talking about? And then McDonald's becomes the favorite restaurant in America. McDonald's representing the plantation, feeding the cattle. Oh, listen to that. Can't make that up. Feeding the cattle on old McDonald's farm. Oh, I ain't hit it right on the head. Feeding the cattle on old McDonald's farm. Come on in here, cattle. Go on, get you a burger. This is McDonald's farm. As soon as I put two and two together, And I thought about McDonald's Farm and Old McDonald, that song, Old McDonald, that's probably a racist song. Damn. Old McDonald had a farm. I guarantee the person was racist. He probably was. And then the most famous restaurant becomes McDonald's. You don't think they manipulated to make that happen? They have a little message like we the animals on the plantation on McDonald's farm. Oh no, think about that. Listen, man. Listen, if you think racism is gone, listen, you don't know where I'm gonna go with this. If you think racism is gone, I'm talking about real racism, not the hate we got among each other because people ratchet. Not that. We ain't talking about that. We talking about unprovoked hate and racism. We talking about unprovoked. Because you can bring hate on yourself now. That's the first thing. If you black, your mama should have raised you like that. You can bring hate on yourself. Oh, people can hate you for legitimate reasons. So you ain't gonna get no pass in the world just because you black. You should know that. I'm pretty sure you know that, don't you? Well, you ain't gonna get no pass when you playing games. You ain't gonna get no pass from nobody when you playing games in the world. And you black, and you playing games. What you was tripping off of? Oh, I know what you're tripping off of. The culture, that's what got you. All this stuff you see on TV, all this stuff you see on your phone, all this foolishness on your phone, that's what caught you and got you. And made you feel you can come out here and play in this field with all these white folks, and they was gonna be on your side. Now you see they ain't on your side. See what I'm talking about? Yeah, they ain't on your side now. See that part? See, in this world, in America, you can't trust no particular group of people because they all are American. They all have certain psychology. That's all you're working with here. You're working with psychology. You gotta watch out for people's psychology. That's all we dealing with. That's all a person is. That's all you gotta worry about. That's why, you see black people, that don't mean they got the psychology of black people. They got the psychology of white people sometimes. You got to be aware of that. You got to listen to worldviews. That's what, if you want to know if somebody's racist, it's not even the hate they show for other people. I'm going to tell you what the real racism is. Worldviews. Unprovoked worldviews. And when you get to the source of those worldviews, I guarantee you'll find a racist. When you go find out how they think and who they learned it from, you're going to see that's what you learn. Go find out who they masters are, who they teachers are. And I guarantee you, more times than not, if you already question them, you're going to find out they're racist. See, Trump isn't racist. No, I'm going to tell you what Trump is. Trump comes from a time where white people was up here and black people was down there. He comes from a generation where white people felt that black people had to be in a place, a certain place below them, and it was insinuated in everything they did. That's why they wanted Trump in the office, because he could put black people back in their place. He could put all these Hispanic and Latinos. See, that's what really white people wanted. They wanted somebody to put everybody back in their place. That's it right there. That's 7 out. They wanted somebody that was white to put all these people back in their place. And a young white person ain't gonna do it. This is why this is their last shot. Because young blood can't really do it. Because young blood wasn't really there. They don't know how to do this. See, Trump know how to do this. Trump know how to run this McDonald's farm. Where, oh yeah, y'all black, y'all can come on over here, but you know, low key though, you ain't gonna never be better than us over here, these white folks. See, that's the ongoing insinuation. That's why they had to put somebody like Trump back in office so they can get everybody back in place. Because see, we at the most dangerous time, like I've explained this before over and over again. We at the most dangerous time of America because of all the illegal migrants, and the black culture has made the white man second fiddle. I remember when white people dominated the movies and the music. Now we always had our way with the music, you know what I mean? We did. But white boys had the classic rock and roll. It ain't no more good white boy music. No. Every once in a while you might get a little you know what I'm saying, like that. We call it like that, every once in a while you get a little white boy, That's it, man. Every once in a while. Man, back in the day, you couldn't say white boys didn't have no talent. You can't say white boys ain't had nothing going on. They had all that rock and roll, that classic rock and roll, jamming. And the songwriting was good too. Oh, the songwriting was good. It was just as competitive with black songwriting, because the white songwriting wasn't all about love making. See, us as black people, we make songs about love and love making. The white boy, how he competed with black songwriting was, if you notice, this is coming from a musician myself. The white songwriter, he wrote about life more than we wrote about life. He wrote about certain feelings about life and things like that. Things outside of sex, where you could go and drink at the bar and you ain't got to think about no woman. He got all them kind of songs where you can just drink and not think about a woman. We don't got songs like that. Our R&B is all about love and making love and falling in love with a woman. See? But the white man, he makes songs, you can forget that woman. I ain't missing you at all. Y'all remember that song? I ain't missing you. I ain't missing you. Perfect song. When a black person made that song. See, that's just too crass for us, ain't it? That's too crass for a black man saying, I ain't missing you at all. We ain't gonna we don't know how to dance to that. Cause we wanna dance to all our music. See, us as black people, most of our music, we wanna dance to it. I don't care what it's about. We can't dance to that. I ain't missing. Well, I mean, we can now, Now we got a little boogie, a different kind of boogie, but back then, you couldn't really boogie to that, right? White people, oh yeah, they like that. I ain't missing you at all. See, they songwriting is different, man. They songwriting is different. Back then, they was good in their own skin, but see, they tried to come over here and do hip hop and all that stuff, and the Michael Jackson, the pop and all that. They should have stayed in their lane with that rock and roll, man. That's what they should have did. That's what white people should have did. You should have stayed in that lane with that rock and roll. You had it going on with that rock. But after you try to come and get in the lane with all that pop and all that, all them pop bands and Backstreet Boys, come on, whack, NSYNC, whack. Oh, we like New Kids on the Block. Oh, black people like that. Ooh, ooh, oh, ooh, ooh, oh. Hey, keep it real. We like that one song, didn't we? We like that one song, The Right Stuff. Hey, we like that one Kid on the Block, New Kids on the Block song. But after New Kids on the Block, we ain't like no little boy bands like that, like no kind of stuff like that. I'm talking about real black people. We let New Kids on the Block, we like that a little bit. Oh. See, they knew what they was doing. That's what got us. The right stuff. We like that. If they wouldn't have did that, we probably wouldn't have liked that song. But we like that. After New Kids on the Block, that was it. We ain't like none of that Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and what was the other one? Degrees, 98 Degrees. We ain't like none of that stuff, man. No, that's why they wasn't successful. They bridged. That's why they really didn't go over, and cross over. They didn't cross over. None of those bands crossed over. No. You notice Michael Jackson didn't really deal with none of them groups. And you know he liked white people. He loved white people, didn't he? he had Macaulay Culkin in one of his little videos. He loved white people. Why he ain't branch over to them boys right there? Because they was missing something. I don't know what it was. Something was missing in that. Something was missing in it. I don't know what it was. But I ain't take time to figure it out. Some of that stuff sounded alright. It sounded alright, you know what I'm saying? But it didn't catch on. None of that 98 Degrees and NSYNCs and Backstreet Boys, that didn't catch on with black people. We seen it from a distance. We like, okay. We kind of smiled at it, but it ain't really catch on. New Kids on the Block caught on, buddy. Danny and Donnie, and that's the one I remember. Cause my name Donnie, I remember. But you know, yeah, they caught on, but everybody else, all that other stuff after that, we ain't really feel that. So white people really, they kind of fell off as far as the music. They really did. I mean, they really did. If they did rock and roll, they started doing death metal and all this other stuff. All that other, they should have just stuck with the good riffs, the good guitar riffs, all that stuff. They should have stuck with that, man. Making it in songwriting the same way, doing the same songwriting. Messed up, man. They messed up the formula, man. It fell off. It fell all the way off. Cause I'm gonna tell you what happened. Everybody started wanting to be darker in the rock and roll music. That's what it was. All that gothic stuff, the gothic influence, all this darker music. That's what happened. And they missed everybody with that. Cause then it isolated the genres of rock to kind of like certain listeners. It wasn't universal as it was when it was classic rock. Classic rock is universal. You don't have to feel like you're a dark person to listen to this music. You don't have to be a dark person to listen to this music. Like some genres of rock is so dark that everybody can't sit there and listen to it. Now your mom, she can sit and listen to this classic rock. Yeah, put that on. She already heard a million guitar riffs being in America, so the guitar ain't gonna really bother her until she gotta get used to it. Most black people, they ain't used to guitars. No, sonically they not. So you gotta get them used to it. Oh, that's too loud. Turn that down. That's what black people gonna say. Turn that guitar down. That's really what they telling you. Turn that guitar down. You gotta get them used to it. You gotta make them understand the art. It's both sides. Black people make white people understand their music. You gotta make black people understand white people music. The point is loud, exciting guitars. That's what white boy gonna tell you. That's the point. That's why you play it loud. It sounds good loud. I ain't never heard nobody slowly listen to classic rock and it's got all these guitars in it. It's like it's made to be listened to loud. Right or wrong? But it's the same thing with hip hop. Okay, who gonna listen to a nice bass and low? They gonna turn that up. Now I wanna hear the bass. Turn that up. Right? So that's kind of funny how hip hop, I mean most of our music we listen to loud, but I think hip hop is just meant to be listened to loud just like classic rock. But our R&B music wasn't really made to be listened to super loud. Not super loud. I mean, well, you can when you get tipsy. I mean, but you know what I mean. But the white boy really have been like second fiddle in the culture lately. I would say about the past 20 years, 30 years, about 20 years. Yeah, about that. Since the 90s, you been doing good in the 90s, but after the millennium, it got weird for white music. Here and there, there's some stuff, but they was killing it with that classic rock, man. I'm telling you, man, they was killing it. But I don't know what happened. Look how it just fell off. What happened? Like the songwriting, all the stuff. What happened? But you know what I think, man? Everybody mastered the guitars and all this music, and now we're coming to the end of the world. And there's no more music to make that's original. It's harder. Every year, it's harder to make original music because so many different things have been done. So many different things have been done. So even though you think I'm gonna sit down and make this cool song just like the classic rock dudes, it's gonna be harder than you think it is. You're gonna have to make an original riff, and it can't sound like nobody else, and you get respect. Which means you got to go listen to a lot of music first. That's what you got to do first, because a real musician could easily make a mistake. I've done it before. I've made songs that sound, and I'm saying, man, that sounds like something I made. A real musician gonna tell you that. I heard that sound like something I made, man. But that's why you gotta listen to a lot of music, so your ear will be like, nah, that sound like that. Nah, I don't want to hear that. So that's if not any other reason, that's why you have to be an educated musician. So your ears will hear stuff that's already made, and you'll be like, nah, I already heard that. Your mind gonna tell you, nah, that sound like that. That sound like that. Nah. But if you don't got no reference, why you making the music? And you just, oh, okay. Somebody gonna say, no, that sounds like that. You gonna be like, dude, I made that myself. See, back in the day, while many people were successful, and this is no criticism, because nothing was done. If I jump on a guitar, and nobody's done nothing on the guitar, I can do anything. I can do the most simplistic lick, a riff. I can play that. Nobody ain't done it. I do it today. Okay, I can find that somewhere, I'm pretty sure. But back in the day, nothing was done, so anything you do was like, oh wow, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Because nothing was done. Now, it's so much history of bands of everywhere, all over, that it's harder to be an original, lyrically and sonically. And but in a funny way, because music is a part of life, it shows us that it's the end of the world. And the reason why, because everything has been done. Everything has been done. And if you pay attention, you can see the end of the world, because if you look at the music, you can see everything has been done. And you also see the mentality of the people, don't you? The decline in the mindset of the people is different now. You can't even listen to good love songs anymore. You can't write that kind of music because it doesn't make sense to real life. People ain't falling in love anymore. It's all about flings. And so if you make a love song, it has a market. It has a market, but it's not as relatable as to the masses. And that's why people make songs that now are more promiscuous and lyrically. It lacks monogamy lyrically, because that's not how people are living. See, back in the day, it was the opposite. People were more monogamous, so they had monogamous lyrics. And so but so you can't even the songwriting is not even like it was. It's now the mindset of the people is different, and that's what people go with. They have to go. A real lyricist, almost, if you want mass appeal, you're almost forced to go with how people think, because that's going to be the listener that's going to listen to that music. You can make music for yourself, but if you want to be successful and actually get people to buy the music, you have to understand how people think. You have to actually, it's almost like writing a letter to the people. That's how you got to think as a songwriter. I'm writing this from the heart as a writer. When you write a letter to somebody, you're writing from the heart, but you're also writing to that person with that person in mind, as that person is, right? And that's really how any music is going to be successful. If you don't write according to the hearts of the people, it's not going to catch on. It could be good. It could be talent. You can have talent, but the songwriting has to connect with the mindset of the people, which means the worse it gets, the only music they really listen to is drill. No disrespect to drill, but drill rap is why That's how people think these days. Steppers, drillers. That's why I caught on. And if you try to make boom bap, I mean, it's a market, but it ain't nobody thinking like that. That's how you need to hear it. Ain't nobody thinking like that. That's the bottom line. So it's not even the age that the rappers are, it's the mentality. That's why you'll find older rappers that are cutthroat and they're successful because they're connected to the minds of the people. Deadly cutthroat rappers are going to connect with the people. So it's not really, some people think that's selling out, but really, honestly, it's just genius songwriting where people understand certain musical IQ points that people don't understand, which is I have to connect with the minds of the people. I have to know how the streets is moving. And that's and think like an everyday person in the streets. That's what's going to catch on, because this person gonna be sitting back like, yeah, I relate to that. But if you make this boom bap song and then this person is in a whole different world, it's gonna be good. It could be good, but it ain't gonna be in sync with his environment. You see what I'm saying? They ain't gonna be in sync. That's why you even gotta use certain sonics. People were forced to start using drill and all these different elements in production, because it's not, you can't use boom bap and those sonics ain't gonna catch on the radio. That's why it's sad for many artists that don't know this. At least I didn't know this. I had to live and learn. Like, it's not selling out, man. It's about sonics. If especially kids and even certain people, they get used to hearing certain sonics, and that's what they looking for. When they chill, they want to hear the same kind of sonics. If you ain't got drill, as far as hip hop, if it ain't drill, if it ain't trap, if it ain't trap or drill or progressive trap or progressive drill, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's not a spinoff or a sub genre of drill, or if it don't complement drill or trap, because that's what's going to be in the lineup of an album anyway. It's going to be something like that, right? So those other songs have to complement drill and trap. So if it doesn't do that, it could be a great song, but sonically, it's not connecting to the people. That's just how it is. That's the business part. That's not selling out. That's understanding progression, right? And also that works in lyrics too. So now I can run a record company, but I don't, because I understand how the whole game go. I understand how all this stuff go. I'm to the point where I understand all of it, how it moves, how it pops, how to make an artist, all of that kind of stuff. All of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but my heart is not in it. My heart is not in it because my message is not in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because of this disruption in the force. See, you got to understand this. They disrespected me as a community, right? I'm a chosen one, for real. Like, not just saying it because everybody else saying it. I always felt like a chosen one before people even started talking about that on the internet. Before I even seen anybody on the internet, I always had this chosen one complex, as if you will, where I felt like this single chosen one, right? I always felt that way. So that's why I would relate back to connecting. I would connect with like Neo in the Matrix. I would connect with like the Mockingjay in the Hunger Games, even a female, the Mockingjay, Neo, those type of characters. You know, I don't connect with what's going on because I've been disrespected. So that's the tragedy. The tragedy is, see, people that understand energy don't understand the highest levels of understanding energy and what it is. Energy makes timelines of history. A disruptancy is what stops the timeline. When people die, when people get killed, when these rappers get killed, whatever, these things like that becomes a disruptancy and stops things from flourishing, stops the progression of things. And so just like any situation of confusion, when in my case, The people listened to my brother and thought it was a colorful story, but they don't think that now. They listened to him and got off on other stuff and caused a disruptancy in all this situation. They caused a disruptancy in all this situation, and so you can't. The energy is throwed off. Like in the South, they'll say it's throwed, right? So everything's throwed as far as energy. Energy is thrown. That's why everything is leaning over. It's warped out. It's sideways. It's thrown because people are thrown. You know what I'm saying? What they throw, they ain't thinking right. They throw it off. So but that's because that's because they own mistakes. They made their own mistakes, and people, if they not real, they not gonna admit. You got thrown listening to people. You know what I'm saying? That's why your mind is thrown. Mine is still clear. Mine is still to enough where I can tell you what happened. But they throw it off. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. That's why I can clearly see what's going on. If I was thrown like everybody else, I would think it was normal. But that's what messed up the whole energy. See, when it comes to a chosen one, once that person is off track, it's not saying the world revolves around me, but it throws the axis off, or how everything is moving in a certain direction and all how it flows and everything. Once you play with a chosen one, it throws everything off because that person was supposed to do a lot of stuff for a lot of people, right? That person was supposed to help a lot of people. So then it's like, and that should be the point, right? For a chosen one. But when that's thrown off, it stops the destinies of hundreds and millions of people. So now everything is affected. And that's why you feel the way you feel. And the higher ranking chosen ones, when we are affected, everybody is affected. This what happens. It becomes a lost cause to God. When you play with chosen ones, it becomes a lost cause to God for anybody to exist. It's like God just sits there like he ain't even looking at nobody. Cause you play with my chosen one, I don't even see these other people. I don't even see them. Nah, you play with my chosen one. I ain't trying. I don't care what y'all doing. Know what I mean? I don't care what y'all doing. Nah, you play with my chosen one. See, that becomes the energy. Like that. But it was bound to happen because of the present generations of people that's arrogant with witchcraft, and they don't want to admit it, but that was part of what influenced them to play with us and play in our lane. And until people admit it and be honest with yourself, you gonna sit here and act like it was something I did and I ain't done nothing. See, it don't make sense. So then what we have to do? We have to come back to the origins of everything. The origins is you listen to the wrong person. I tell you, just like the police, if you got arrested by the police gonna tell you everything, what happened. This is why this happened. Okay, you listen to the wrong person. And just like a person sit up and listen to the police, you in denial. But you know it's true. You listen to the person that's basically gonna prosecute you in the questioning room, right? In the interrogation room. Investigation room, however you want to put it. He's telling you everything he knows. But you're sitting there like it's not that. Like that's not the situation. It is the situation. And he won't even tell you that. This is the situation. You listen to my brother. You listen to him. You took this information to the community. You spread it through the community. You didn't care if it was true or not at one point. At one point you did, but at one point you didn't. And that's important information. At one point you did not care. And then that's when everything got worse. When you didn't even care, you wasn't even focused on, and how we know you didn't care because you wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, how I was living my life. I had a woman. I have a son. Okay, If I was really investigating somebody, I would, when you find out their family structure, when you find out that they had a son in the world, okay, this man is a father. That's important information. Okay, boom. That's a red flag for this situation. Oh, he's been married. Oh, that's another red flag. He's been a married man with a woman. I mean, a married man has a woman with a child. And he's had 2 apartments. He's been working. And he had a driver's license. This guy functioned just like a normal human being. Oh, that's a whole bunch of red flags. But you didn't care to even investigate. How we know that that's information too easy for you to find out? That's how we know you didn't care at some point. You just did what you wanted to do. You would just see at some point you just got caught up in the game. Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it factual and actual, like I like to say. Let's keep it actual and factual. Let's keep it actual and factual. You got caught up in the game. Like Tupac would say, you got caught up in the game. Because if you didn't, and you was focused on, whether it be the police or the community, if you was focused on me, then you would have seen what was going on. You would have seen the truth. So at some point, you got caught up in the game. And that's where I won. That's the first checkmate. Because you got caught up in something else other than trying to find out the truth. And we all know that. Somewhere along the way, this became not a quest to find out the truth, right or wrong. It became something else. Now you can define the other things it became, but what it failed to be any longer was finding out the truth for what it is. What's in front of you, right? That became something that was there no longer. What became the situation was you got caught up in the game. Now, until you admit that, I talk to you just like somebody prosecuting you, because I'm spiritual law enforcement. We prosecute spiritually, and we enforce the laws of the Bible. We enforce the truth of the Bible, right? Until people admit that they was being ignorant, that it wasn't about anything but ignorance, that you thought you was bad. See, this is what the police will tell you. You know why you did what you did? Because you thought you was bad. Well, I don't know why I did that. Or I don't know why. Because you thought you was bad. You thought you was tough. At some point, you thought you was tough. It wasn't about investigation. It wasn't about we trying to protect our children. At some point, that became the second situation, and you thought you was bad. That's what happened. Now, God has no tolerance. This is the bad news for you. God has no tolerance for people who think they bad and play with God's people. And then you want to act like it was something else. But the truth is, the something else, finding out the truth, that became the secondary issue or objective. The first objective was to fight this person like you're bad. That and if you're black, you know what type of energy that is. And if you're not, you might not know what type of energy that is. But if you're black, you know what I'm talking about. It's a certain kind of energy where people think they bad. They want to fight you because they bad. They think they bad. They want to try you because they think they bad. And that's really what it is. It's not trying to come down to the truth. See what I'm saying? See how tricky it is? Because if you're an innocent-minded person, you're going to think, oh, people trying to get down to the truth. No, they're not. If you black, you gonna know, them people think they bad. They think they bad. And see where it gets tricky is we got more than one type of community that think they bad among black people. You got, even in America, you got thugs and killers. That's the only thing I consider bad, right? in my book. But then you got those who are influenced by the culture that they not thugs and killers, but they think they tough. They'll try to fight. Like I call them street punks. See, that's a term we need to bring back. Street punks. They not thugs. They not criminals. They street punks. Don't you remember in the 80s when movies like Jason, Friday the 13th, you remember Jason never really fought no real thugs and gangsters. No, he never did. I'm talking about Jason, the horror film. Jason never fought, in his movies, he never fought really thugs and gangsters. He fought street punks. So if you don't really know what a street punk is, Jason, the movies Jason, he had all those, the street punks was the ones that Jason was killing. It was all he do, smoking a little joint, smoking a little weed. You remember them? He said with his girlfriend, let's smoke this joint. Yeah. Something's going on out there. Go on out there. Yeah, who's out there? This is a street punk. This is not a gangster. Or they might be sitting around on the street smoking a joint, right? And he pulls out a switchblade. Yeah, what are you going to do, man? Those were street punks. Now we're in a new resurgent, if you will, if I just made up a word, of street punks. It's a new generation of street punks. That's what we're dealing with. And those are the people that's part of a lot of this stuff that went on. These people that think they bad, they were street punks. A street punk don't think he bad until bad walks in the room. And see, so I got challenged by street punks. A lot of them. And it's old street punks too. Old street punks, oh, I mean, it's no certain age. It's all what you're influenced by. It's your mentality, right? But the bottom line is, they some of them can be military. They street punks, police street punks. They became street punks. You can always reform your mentality to anything. You could become a street punk. Well, you could have been, you was military, you police. Now you became street punks. So that's what we're really dealing with. That's why you can't. That's why they don't have the principles that we do. Like when we really talk to real bad people, bad boys that'll hurt you, right? That we have certain principles and rules and guidelines to be able to make it ourselves, because we're not invincible ourselves, right? So in order to be around other killers that won't kill you, because to be around killers, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. They might turn on you. It could happen. You have to understand rules, regulations, and guidelines to even have friends that's killers. You can't hang around killers and you don't know rules. Think about that. They gonna turn they back on you, and if you're stupid, you'll still be around them, and they'll kill you probably. Seriously. So that's why dudes that's been around killers have rules and regulations, because of their friends. you know, you hanging out and drinking and smoking weed with somebody that's a killer. Okay, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to treat people. You got to know about rules and regulations, right or wrong. Oh yeah. You hang around a whole bunch of killers. You got to know what you're doing. They might turn on you. You never know. If you don't know rules and regulations, eventually that's what's gonna happen. Think about it. Eventually that's what's gonna happen. And in some cases you might just get left behind, but in some cases it could be worse. So that's the distinguishing difference between street punks and people that's been around killers, because we're gonna have rules and regulations. A street punk ain't got no rules and regulations, because the people he hang around is punks, street punks. So they don't care how they treat each other. Watch how street punks act with their friends. They treat each other like crap. They don't care. You can't treat killers like crap. You can't treat gangsters, thugs, and killers like crap. No, you can treat your brothers, thugs, and your family like crap. But when you come out to the streets, you can't treat other people like crap. That's thugs and killers. It's not good for your life. It's not good for your reputation, because then you become dinner to everybody else behind your back. You don't even know. Like, you should assume if you treat a person a certain way, but see, a clown won't realize that. You fall out with somebody, you fall out with the wrong people. You gotta kind of watch yourself now. You know what I'm saying? You gotta pay attention. If it's all good, is it all good or is it not? You gotta kind of pay attention to that, man. So, my street wisdom is always on point. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I don't lack. That's why I can call it for what it is. It's at this point, it's not even one person to blame. It's America. See, it went so far with me, it became an American effort. And that's another thing nobody wants to admit. This became an American effort, right? So I can't look at one person. I can't look at a couple people and focus on them, because it's a whole community, it's a whole country that got involved in this situation. But now people want to bring the liability back to the people that started it. But it's not going to be that simple. It's going to be all those who were liable, all those who put themselves in the vicinity of God's people. That's the people that are going to be held liable, right? Not just the people that started this. Not just the people that's in this situation in front of us today. It's going to be all the people that started this. And see, they want to take the liability back to themselves. They want to take it back to themselves. And unfortunately, man, what is done is done. You can't take this back to yourself. You cause these problems, you cause these situations, and you got to suffer for it. You got to suffer for it. See, like I said it before, America is used to sweeping everybody under the rug. They used to sweeping everybody under the rug. But this time it didn't happen. This time it didn't happen. So we getting revenge. That's what's happening. We getting revenge, and basically, nobody wants to pay the price. Nobody wants to pay the price. Nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions. Nobody wants to take responsibility for their actions. So, we gotta play. We gonna sit here and play stupid like nobody don't know what happened. And, okay, we can play it like that. We can play it just like that. What we gonna do is keep it actual and factual. We're gonna keep it actual and factual. You know what I'm saying? We ain't let nobody play around and play games and act like, oh, well, we don't know why this happened, and no, you play games, that's why it happened. They played games, that's why it happened. Okay? They played games, that's why it happened. That's why we can't let people sit up and act like, play us for stupid. Use street intuition. And sometimes with white people and these weirdos out here, a lot of people don't use the intuition that you got. You got intuition to see things for what they are, but you're not using it. You use a half of it, or a little bit of it, or some of it. Use all of it. Okay, that's what you need to be doing. Use all of it, because ain't no way in the world you gonna play around and play with us and think ain't not gonna happen. It's no way in the world, man. It's no way in the world. It's no way in the world we can let you play with us and nothing happens. That's what we talking about. That's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, okay. It's people that's used to doing that in America. They used to playing with people, and that's white folks is gonna be the first one in line. They used to playing with people, and nothing happens. That's why to them it's easy for them to just try to sweep somebody under the rug. That's always been their solution. But God is not gonna let it happen this time. So people have to. They forced to change their perspective and worldviews because, like I told you, nobody ain't trying to work it out with the prophet. But that's how we know they mad. How we know you're mad, because it's easy to see that people wrong me, and it's easy to see that people owe me money. It's easy to see that. So if there's nobody responding, what would you think? And I know I got them. You know you got them because they marrying children, and you've been talking about this, and they not acknowledging that too. Some people think, well, this dude is talking about America marrying children, then we gonna get this dude some money. Why they ain't doing that? Because they mad. They mad, bro. Okay, so then it ain't hard for me to figure it out. I use my intuition. I'ma win. I'm not gonna lose. God is on my side. See, a lot of people are used to saying, in a cliche, God is on my side. But God is not really with people, because they not living for God at all. Every time they get a chance, they want to do the wrong thing. Every chance they get, they do the wrong thing. You don't see them like, well, that time they ain't do nothing. That time they ain't really do what they could have did. They could have did this, but they didn't. It ain't that they doing everything every time they want to do it. Okay, so there ain't no other way to look at it. This person ain't doing stuff that he want to do every time he could do it. When he got opportunity to do it, or when he could do it. We don't allow them people to say they're Christians. Now I'm not gonna sit up and argue with you. When I say that don't mean just because I don't allow you, I don't accept you as a Christian, don't mean I'm gonna sit up and argue with you for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna do that either. I'm gonna see that you don't have a path of living for God. You don't live the lifestyle. So I'm not gonna take you seriously. So then I'm actually, because I'm not gonna take you seriously, we ain't even gonna get into, because I'm too wise to do that. I'm not gonna get into nothing with you because I already know where it's at. So anything you say is gonna be cliche. It's gonna be cliche to somebody like me. So you're gonna say all the right things about your life and where you come from, and that ain't got nothing to do with you serving God. Where you come from don't got nothing to do with you serving God. So that's what even street people would say, you don't know where I came from and I prayed, still not valid. You can pray in bad situations, you can pray in the streets, and that still don't mean you valid with God. It don't. And that applies to everybody, not just certain individuals, to everybody. And basically that's how it is. So these people put themselves in this situation, and Trump is on the horizon of changing this country for white people, trying to put the white man back on top. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to put the white man back on top because the white man is losing his position in this country. And like I've said before, it's not even going to make sense too much longer for it not to be a Hispanic or Latino president if the world lasts. Because that's who dominates the country. So what sense does it make for a white man to be on top of all these people, and he don't understand these people fluently? No pun intended. He don't understand them fluently, so what sense does it make for him to be on top of these people? It only makes sense for it to be a Hispanic or Latino president in America, even now. Because that's really who is dominating the country. So because of that, it's a very dangerous time in our country. And if you take that, what I say, for granted, then you take it for granted. But it's become a very dangerous time. It's become a very dangerous time as a result of, Hispanic and Latino people whether illegal or legal, dominate the country. I'm just telling you how other people think. I'm just expressing basically the reality of how other people think, not how I think. And that's the best of us when you can start articulating the mindset of other people outside of yourself. And that's how you're going to make right decisions. That's how you're going to make the right decisions, man. So, that's why I don't entertain people that's not thinking on these levels, man. I mean, I don't entertain nobody that's not thinking in terms of what I'm just talking about right here. I'm not one of them scrubs that's just here, just getting high and drinking all the time, and they ain't focused on, none. These bums on the streets. That's not. And when I say bum, I don't mean a poverty-stricken person. I'm talking about a bum in a soul. Because usually most of them people that's out there, man, what we don't want to accept is they put themselves out there. A lot of times. And so it's something in their soul, it's something in their heart and their mind that's not right, and that's why they out there, most of them. And then the other 5 to 10% is out there for poverty itself. But most of the majority of the people that's in the streets is drugs, alcohol. Am I right or wrong? Okay, so it's just a lot of drug addiction and why people are homeless and everything like that. So that's what make them bums in their spirit. You know what I'm saying? There's just no other way to put it. They can have a place to stay. You know how many people can have a place to stay? But it ain't even the drugs, it's how they do the drugs. That part. It's some people that could do drugs with other drug addicts in a house. But they can't even stay there. No, you see what I'm saying? They can't even stay there and do drugs in the house with somebody because they're a bum. You see what I'm saying? Now you get me. It's not even just mere drug addiction. It's not even that. Because you got some drug addicts that'll let you stay at their house and y'all get high together. Especially if you got money. You got a check coming in. Oh, they want you to, if you cool enough, they want you to hang out with them, of course. Why not? It's a no-brainer for them. That's what they're going to say. It's a no-brainer. You got money, I got money. We live together, but if you a jerk, you're a bum, you're low quality in your spirit, then they're going to want you to leave. They're going to want you to go to the streets. You're going to be on the streets. So when I say bum, I'm not talking about mere poverty. I'm talking about a condition of the heart, a condition of the soul, better to say. It's the condition of the soul. And it's a lot of bums that got money. It's a lot of bums that's rich. It's a lot of bums in these politics. A bum, to me, in my context and definition, is a person that's a bum in their soul. They're a low quality person in their souls, right? That's a bum. And then you can have somebody on the streets that's an angel. Like, I'm about to go to the streets myself, and because they put me in psychological situations. You heard the alarms, right? The car alarm. That was all psychological. We call those sound campaigns. Like, they think we stupid, man. It's the timing on things. That's how you can hear it in the spirit. They think we're stupid. See, there's some Americans, man, that they don't esteem nobody as smart as them. Even other people here. Even other people here, they esteem as idiots. Like, we all stupid. Like, we don't have the ability to be inclined to be just as spiritual or smart as them. You see what I'm saying? And I'm just as smart as them, man. And so I know I can sense everything they doing. And some people, as sick as they are, they get off from the fact that you are smart, intelligent, that you know what they do. So it's not gonna be fixed for me without money. If they ain't got no money, it's not gonna be fixed. That's what a grown man's supposed to say to you. That's how you know I'm not a man child, because the only way it's gonna be fixed is with money. See, when you're not working, people think you're a man child in America. But you see my situation where today I have to go into spiritual war, and it's nobody that would deny that. It's nobody that would say, well, I think you're being irrational. You think I'm being irrational and all these people been following me around California, Florida, North Carolina, everywhere? You think I'm being irrational? You think I'm being irrational by going by defending myself against America? Because it's America. That's what makes you think I'm irrational. Because it's America. Now, if it was another country, you might not even think it's wrong. But because it's America, you think I'm being irrational. Oh yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I feel like you think I'm being irrational because it's America. Because if I explain my position or situation in another country, you're going to feel like, well, you're going to go by the obvious things that you're a grown man, you need to protect yourself, and that's basically it. It's nothing else. It's self-explanatory. They play with you. You're defending yourself. Here, I'm being irrational. How I'm being irrational? If it's a whole bunch of people to the point where it's a community effort, if it's a community effort, how am I being irrational? When it's more people than you can see in front of you that's against you. See, that's the clown part that nobody don't want to acknowledge. When it's more people that you can even count, that's what they got off on. They got off on all these people against you. That's the get off part. Will make them think they look cool to use all these people against you, right? But the fine print, the tab that you're gonna get billed is that y'all held liable as a whole community. If you use a whole bunch of people, who you think is coming back to? Oh, just you. But you used a whole bunch of people. You're not that smart as you thought you were. These secret society people are not that smart as they thought they were. If you used a whole bunch of people, who you think the liability is coming back to? A whole bunch of people. Duh. It's not going to just come back to you. It's going to come back to a whole bunch of people. And that's what you have to come to terms with. And if you're not mature enough to accept that, everybody was sitting back. See, this is why we have to have gatekeepers in our community. Because the gatekeeper realizes that if we let these people run wild like college girls, like college white girls, and they run wild like they on spring break, right? Then we gonna get the liability. We gonna get the tab. The bill gonna come back on us. So that's why, see, real gatekeepers got more than one objective. A gatekeeper will look and say, hold up, nah, even though I'm not involved in this, I gotta shut this down because this is gonna be a liability to my community. These people keep playing with this prophet, they keep playing with these Christians, and what's gonna happen is I'm spiritual enough. See, that's why we don't have real chiefs, real spiritual chiefs, right? Like a chief of a tribe. Spiritual chiefs is gonna say, and see spirituality, understand spirituality. If we keep letting these people play with our community, see what I mean? This is gonna cause a spiritual liability on everybody. It's common sense for a spiritual person. I got a term called spiritual common sense. Spiritual common sense is common sense according to spirituality, understanding spirituality. It's common sense according to understanding spirituality. Right? And everybody that got common sense don't have spiritual common sense. So spiritual common sense, one-on-one, is you reap what you sow. People get what they deserve. It's that simple. It's something that everybody goes by. That's what makes it so one-on-one, the elementaries of spiritual understanding. Everybody understands this. Everybody understands this. Everybody understands this. So street punks ran wild in your country. That's what we call them. They not thugs, they not gangsters. And see, they quick to tell you that. So what is it? It's a street punk. It's a street punk. That's why you couldn't size it up right, because they out there smoking and drinking all the time. They look like they almost street people, but they not. They street punks. They out in the streets, but they punks. You follow me? They out in the streets, but they punks, bro. That's a street punk. And most of them gonna be drug addicts. You gonna see a lot of street punks that's drug addicts. A drug addict will kill you if it got to. You know, a drug addict will fight you if it got to, but it's not second nature to a drug addict to kill people. You know what I'm saying? Or to be a soldier in the street dude, or to even fight people. Half of them won't even fight people. Those are street punks. A lot of drug addicts. If you don't know what a street punk look like, pay attention to a drug addict. A drug addict is a perfect example. I'm not saying all drug addicts, don't get me wrong. But you know what I mean. Come on, don't be so smart you're stupid. You know what I mean. Right? It's people that street punks, man. That's the problem here. Okay? And that's how it needs to be said, so people can understand what context it is and stop acting like they street people that we gotta negotiate with. We ain't gotta negotiate with no street punks. We just gotta understand it. We gotta understand their position and put them in their lane. Put them in their lane. You ain't street people. Don't come out here in the streets. Don't come out here talking in the streets. You a street punk. Keep it point A to point B. Keep smoking a little weed. Have your little drink. That don't mean you street people. See, the Jedi mind trick was after the 1990s. People that smoke weed is thugs. Or people that drink is thugs and stuff like that. No. Even if they got guns, still not thugs. You can have guns, weed, drugs, women, everything, music, all the tattoos, nothing, but they not thugs. They're not gangsters. But somewhere along the way, you know, I don't see how they even got that far. You know, they got under the radar of like the streets. But because they was doing all the paraphernalia and the things that the streets do, and the streets stupid enough not even paying attention to worldviews, rules, and regulations. See, me, I always listen to rules and regulations because I've been around killers. So I listen to rules and regulations. I watch mistakes. I watch things that people do that I know a real street dude wouldn't do or say, right? Or how they would think. And then that's how I know. While as opposed to you might be rusty, you know what I'm saying? You might not be focused. You know, and you might just see the right things and a little bit of money, and you know, and to you that's just like it's kind of some street dudes. That's not, bro. And now everybody feel like they want to hold them accountable, and I agree. You can't hold me accountable for what the stuff you've done. You can't hold me accountable like I'm one of them little young elf-like dudes that don't grow up. Like I'm not one of them. And some of them act like that. Dudes that don't grow up. That's not me, bro. That's not me. I'm not one of those type of guys at all. Like that's why I told people, man, I gotta have my money. I gotta have my money. You know, if I don't get it, it's gonna be a problem always, man. That's what I'm supposed to say. It don't supposed to be, I just let you get away with something like that. So that's why this stuff is popping off. You know what I'm saying? This is why this stuff is popping off like it is. You know? That's why all this stuff is happening. You know, and I can't really voucher for anybody, even good people that put themselves in that situation, because I wouldn't have done that based on rules and regulations. You ain't gonna ever see me slip like where I'm out here doing crazy stuff like that. So you know, that's just it's just slipping in the jungle, man. And people like to act like we can talk it out, but we still gonna come to the conclusion that you made mistakes, even if we talk it out. I mean, we gonna take off points for you being real. We gonna take off points for you being a person that understand the world we live in. Okay, we all that stuff. So then, what we gonna really talk about? What we gonna really talk about? Only thing we can talk about is my money, because it ain't nothing you can tell me that's gonna make. I already done went through it a million times. I done went through all the scenarios of everything a million times. As you know, doing these videos, I done been through the scenarios a million times. I mean, ain't nothing else to talk about, bro. It's either people gonna get my money or we gonna go to war, and that's it. And because they broke, and we know they broke, then what you think it means? It's going the way God wanted to go, man, and that's what y'all gotta accept, man. You know the world ain't gonna last forever, and maybe people got comfortable. Maybe you didn't think the world was gonna end for another 1,000 years, but no one knows the day or the hour that God, Jesus Christ, is gonna come back. Glory to His name. I don't know. But what I do know, it is going to come to an end. And if you believe in God, you know it's going to come to the end, whether we got children or not in the world or not. Whether we got children in the world or not, this thing coming to an end. And that's how you, if you're a real Christian, it ain't no way you could be talking like that, because if you go to a church, Christians going to, even though they got kids, they going to say the world's still coming to an end. That's it right there, that's 7 hours. They gonna say the world is still coming to an end, even though they got kids. They ain't gonna say because we got kids and the world ain't coming to an end. Think about what I'm saying. You go to a church, Christian got 5 kids, they gonna say the world is ending right in front of their kids. That part, bruh. They got 5 kids and they say the world is gonna end. They not sitting up looking at their kids talking about we want the world to go on. So then see, the real Christian believer does not try to act like the world is not gonna come to an end because I got 5 kids, bro. You see what I'm saying? Listen to a preacher. Listen to a preacher that got 5 kids and stuff. Is he holding back on talking about the world coming to an end because he got some kids? No, he's not. Because that's not what's gonna determine it. Having kids in America is not going to determine whether this world stays alive or not. And that's for the mature person. The mature person realizes this. They don't sit back and think because I got kids, the world going to go on like a simp, like you a simple person. That's a simp. But if you think that the world's going to go on because you got some kids, it never have. It never will. So then you come to terms with what happened. In my point of view, and this is hard for people to believe that lack faith, it's stuff that people can do that cause premature judgments from God. Premature judgment from God is judgments that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. It happened prematurely before the time, because men used their free will to do what they wanted to do, and they caused premature judgments in the world. And that's what the street punks did. The street punks in America caused premature judgment from God. Listen to what I'm saying, man. Listen to what I'm saying. They caused premature judgments from God. Let's stay right here for a minute. A premature judgment is when men use their free will collectively as a whole community to the point of like the gang stalkers, how much they use their free will. They use it to a gross level, right? A disgusting level. And God steps in with spiritual reciprocity, because spiritual reciprocity is going to happen. Because this world, this American community has been so controlled by Americans protecting it. They really haven't seen how I put this. They haven't really seen karma from men like other countries have seen when they do evil to men. In other countries, the repercussions are heavy when you do evil, right? People retaliate. Here in America, because they're one of the strongest countries, people couldn't properly retaliate, right? So a lot of times people didn't see karma according to humanity. And because this country is an island, let's make this clear. The reason why America is as strong as it is because America basically is an island. America is an island, physically, geographically. It has water, the Atlantic Ocean on one side, on the East Coast, and it has the Pacific Ocean on the West Coast. This is the only reason that America survived over the centuries, because it kept all enemies at bay. If you don't understand this, these people will gas themselves. This is how you know I'm militant-minded. I told you I'm militant-minded. I sat back and thought, the only reason America is the America that it is because it didn't get invaded a million times. And the reason why it didn't get invaded by other countries and militaries didn't attack America on different sides because the water is on both sides. The ocean is on both sides. If it wasn't for that, and it was like in Europe, where each country has been invaded a million times for various reasons, then America would have been overtaken by now. The only reason it hasn't, because it's surrounded by water. That's been the greatest defense that no one talks about. No one is honest enough, and the prophet is the only one that's honest enough to tell you what it is. The reason why America has not been invaded and they became as powerful as they did was because they were surrounded by water on both sides and at the bottom. With Florida and the Gulf Coast and the coast of America, coast of Mexico, and Florida, and a lot of that is water at the bottom. All of that has kept enemies at bay. No pun intended. That has kept enemies at bay over the centuries. So America boasts of military might, but really it hasn't really been just military might. It has been that America has been surrounded on its major sides by water, by ocean, by sea. You can really say sea. It's been surrounded by sea, a whole sea. So that's why nobody invaded America over the decades. If it wasn't for that, somebody would have came through the borders. If they were surrounded by different countries on all borders, you don't think nobody would have been invaded America by now? Of course. So the only reason it hasn't been invaded is because the water on both sides. That's why. Where they can't bring ground troops in and they just gotta use planes that can be detected and missiles that can be detected. They can't really get nobody through them borders, because they're surrounded by water. That's what it is. But if you look at any other country, if you look at a country now, because America's a country, the continent is North America, but America is a country, right? If you look at any other country, they all been invaded over and over again. It's just ongoing. They've been invaded a million times. You look at England been invaded, France, Germany, you name them. All them kind of countries, Ireland, all them countries been invaded a million times because it's land all around their country. It's easy to invade it. So that's the real reason. If you don't know, if you don't think like a soldier, or a militant-minded person, that's the only reason America has not been invaded is because there's water on both sides. Okay? Now, you will find military experts and whatever that has not concluded this and said the same thing. But that's the real reason. Over the years, the 1700s, the 1800s, they would have been invaded. As soon as they got up on their feet, they would have been invaded. They would have been invaded. And even in modern times, even in more modern times, they would have been in the 1900s. All those decades in the 1900s, they would have been invaded if they were not surrounded by water. World War I, World War II, they would have been invaded during that time. The only reason what stopped it was the water. That's what stopped it. That's what stopped it. You know, so if you're one of those patriots that just arrogant about America, I mean, you're not living in the real world, bro. Like, the only reason they've been invaded is because it's surrounded by water. If it was surrounded by countries, you think nobody would have invaded America by now? Of course. It would eventually happen. It would. You can't fend off a whole bunch of countries. Eventually, somebody gonna get through. So you know, you gotta just understand, man. Like, it's just people have not come to terms with the fact that this is the end. It's the end. You know, when you see kids that's dying as young as 7 months old, whether you care about it or not, it becomes a lost cause. According to morality, according to what we're trying to do. If it can't be nothing more important than protecting younger generations, right? If that becomes a lost cause or not the cause, or then what is the cause? What are you doing? That's how you can kind of see what's going on. It's a lost cause, man. I mean, think about the parents that lost their kids. You think they want America to go on, or you think they want to see America go forward and do more things? Most people don't care because they lost their kids and stuff. And they don't care about the world. So no matter if you have kids, man, listen to Christians. Christians ain't holding back the end of the world because they got some kids. You can have all the kids in the world, but it's when it's over, it's over. That's what I'm saying. Now, if you're a simple person, you're going to just think about your kids, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. That's why God's people shouldn't be played with. God's people should not be played with, man. And if you're one of these street punks and you think you bad, you're going to find out. You're going to mess around and find out. You're going to mess around and find out. And that's what happened. See, they listening to it from a street perspective. This is not the streets. If you simple, you think I'm talking in terms of the streets. This is God's kingdom, man. You see what I mean? But if you listen to me and my story in my life, you'll be confused if you're stupid. Like thinking I'm talking about the streets. Or you gonna challenge me like it's the streets. And you gonna mess around and find out. This is more harder than the streets. Ain't nobody challenging me for the streets. It don't make sense. It don't make spiritual sense. If you know this person is a Christian, how you think you're gonna win fighting somebody? Who's gonna do that? Who's stupid enough to do that? These street punks. That's who's stupid enough. That's who's stupid enough to do it. Because we don't care nothing about what they talking about, man. You know, I don't get Jedi mind tricked. They don't work on Darth Vader. The reason why I'm like Vader is because I was the chosen one. I was supposed to do a lot for this community. I was supposed to do a lot in America. And it was a lot of people that knew that, and they wanted to play a villain in my story. See, there are some people that want to play a villain in your story just to be famous. And we're dealing with them type of street punks too. It don't even, and how we know, because it don't even make sense for them to be here. Why they here? Why are they here? Because they want to be, because how powerful you are, they want to be that, they want to be acknowledged in that level and lane. And it's just not gonna work. I'm too smart for that. I'm smart enough to know I box out low-level people from thinking they can fight me and try to get fame. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You know, so that, like, these are things that, see, like, I thought about this earlier, man. Young people can understand, tell you what these people doing better than old people. All these military people riding around and all this stuff, they'll be the main ones that they know what's going on, but they sleeping on a lot of stuff they don't know nothing about. Like clout chasing. These people are clout chasing. What's clout chasing? What a military person gonna tell you about clout chasing? They don't even know nothing about it. That's what they doing. They clout chasing. They chasing clout. They trying to get clout off this situation. That's why you can't stop it. That's why we gotta go to war, because these people want to be famous to the point that they clout chasing. Okay, a military person ain't gonna understand that. And police might not even understand that. The young people gonna look and watch and see the situation I'm in and say, oh, them people clout chasing. Teenagers gonna see. So you can't sleep on all intelligence. There's different types of intelligence. Street wisdom and all of that too. You know, some young kids got street wisdom that you ain't got, because you ain't in the streets no more. Things change and everything. And there's different elements that apply, different dynamics. And when it comes to clout chasing, that's something that old people don't understand. People out here trying to be famous and everything and doing things to go viral and everything like that. So, you know, it's just a whole community like that. So when they see a situation like me, and I got reputation, you know, I've been coast to coast. I got reputation on the streets. Everybody know me, everybody talking and everything like that. It's people that's gonna be clout chasing consistently, constantly, trying to get some type of fame or some type of credibility off of my name. You see what I'm saying? It's some type of people that it's inexhaustible. I'm not saying literally, but you know, it's gonna be an ongoing problem. That's what you gotta understand. So you can't get down to the bottom of it until you understand that. That's what an old dude that served in the military think he gonna come out here and figure it all out. He ain't gonna figure that part out. That's why you can't be so arrogant that you don't listen to the streets and you don't listen to people. You don't listen to people. If you don't listen to people, and you could listen. If you're an old sensei that don't listen to people, you don't listen to the young people, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose, man, because you ain't gonna never figure it out what it really is. You ain't gonna never figure it out. It's people clout chasing, man. That's that they want their 15 minutes of fame, and you understand it now that I break it down, but you didn't understand it at first. That's what's driving this. That's why people keep playing and playing and playing, because they're ignorant. They ain't got no life, and they want to get famous. They want to be famous. They want to be known or whatever. You know, and at my expense, and God didn't allow it. So that's the real situation. At my expense, they try to be famous and it didn't work. Now it's a problem in the streets. They got problems in the streets. Because people understand what they was doing. They was clout chasing. Now see, a military person gonna think, oh, well, you know, they ain't really do nothing, until you realize what clout chasing is. Until you do realize that, you gonna sit back and act like they ain't done nothing that's worthy of death. But then when you realize they clout chased, then you gonna realize they worthy of death. You see what I'm saying? If you realize they clout chasing, they've been clout chasing this whole time, then you gonna realize with all these gay people and all this stuff playing games, oh man, listen, ain't nobody stupid, bro. Them people don't care nothing about nothing but being famous and trying to get money and all of this stuff. Like everybody else. That's all that's going on. Trying to push up the brand of gay people and do something for their brand as a gay community. That too. See, younger people gonna understand the whole situation better. That's why you gotta have young people looking at it, because they gonna say, nah, they clout chasing, they trying to put on for their gay brand and all of that stuff. That's what it is. Now let an old head come in. Let an old head military dude come in. He gonna say he ain't gonna know what to do. He gonna be confused. He gonna be confused. I'm not confused. I'm not confused about this. And so I've considered all the elements that do apply, and you haven't. You haven't considered all the elements that apply. That's why your strategy will not work, because if you leave out one important dynamic that's in this situation, leaving out that dynamic could be the reason why your objective is failed. Which means you didn't get to the bottom of it. You didn't get to the bottom of what this is all about and what type of mentality this is. Therefore, your objective is not going to be sufficient to neutralize something you don't understand. To confront, how you going to confront something you ain't acknowledged? Militarily, you can't. You could blow everybody up. You know what I'm saying? But let's just say that's not the case, which it probably won't be the case. Okay, so then how you gonna confront something you ain't acknowledged? How you gonna confront something you don't understand? And you see, it's those type of people that think they know it all. You don't know it all. See, what happened is they came out here clout chasing. They came out here trying to put on for these secret societies and put on for the gay brands and put on for even black people. All this putting on, trying to represent this or represent that, this is what's been the nucleus of the conflict for me. Okay? Now see, when you conclude that that's the situation, then you conclude that it is ignorance that's the situation. But if you don't have these things in understanding, you're gonna blame me. You're gonna see them as not doing nothing, and you're gonna come back to blaming me because you don't really see nothing they doing. See what I'm saying? Oh, I know I'm on point. I know that's the mentality in the world that we live in. So I know that mentality is going to apply. Because ain't nobody gonna do nothing out here without money. Money got to be in the situation. We know that too. Okay, money in the situation, clout chasing in the situation, people trying to put on for whatever they represent is in the situation. Okay, so I'm not one of them smart people that's so smart I'm stupid and I don't know what's going on in the world and I'm not aware of the world that's around me, right? So, you got some military, some cops that don't even know how to make all of this stuff out. I do know how to make it out. They came out here listening to it and thought it would be a game and thought it would be cool to play around. They thought it would be innovative to cause a game. Okay? They thought it would be innovative to play a game. Not even cruel people, not so much that. More so, they thought it would be cool and innovative to play a game with the community. That's how they think. Okay? So if you don't understand that also, then you ain't gonna understand why it's all going on. You ain't gonna if you understand that people think this is cool and innovative, then you gonna see, when you understand that, you're gonna say, well, I see why they ain't stopping. I see why they still doing it. You see what I'm saying? You're gonna understand that. But if you are old and over the hill and you don't listen to other people, you just set as a sensei in your old ways, because that's who's gonna come out there, these people that think these so-called OGs. And guess what? I'm talking about the ones particularly in the military and the police, right? They gonna come out here and try to size this situation up. They gonna fail. They gonna fail. Because you gonna look at simple one-on-one kind of obvious things. And that's what you're gonna be stuck on more than anything, is what you heard. Because you being simple in your old school mindset, what you heard is what's causing it to you. To you, that's what's causing it. Listen. It's young people that's gonna tell you it's more than that that's causing it. It's not based on what was just heard. It's based on people trying to put on for their community and try to get money off of this person and trying to clout chase in a situation where they don't even care about what they heard. They care about clout chasing and using this situation to clout chase and to further their brand. This is an internet time. This is the internet time. This ain't the 1960s. So in the 1960s, you're gonna hear information and think And that's why you're going to charge up all these things about information. Where you got all these military operations and all these operations based on information, because that's what you think is the solution, is to try to get to the bottom of what you heard in this information and try to see if it's true or not about this person. See, that's what old school's approach is going to be to the situation. When a younger dude that could be military going to say, it ain't even no really need to do all those investigations, because the problem is these people are clout chasing. That's the problem. You can't get them off of that. So which means they gonna manipulate over and over again, even if it's true, even if this dude is cleared of whatever y'all talk about, they still gonna try to manipulate to keep this going. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we're going to war. You see what I mean? So see, if you don't understand that, you're going to think from an old school perspective, and it ain't going to work. That's what they did. You went and got a whole bunch of old heads, and these old heads don't know what's going on. And you thought I was just as old as they was, and I'm in that sweet spot where I'm young and old. I'm at that age. That's why I fool people. I'm old and young. I'm old enough to understand the baby boomers and their generation and classic rock, like I was talking about, and all of that. I'm old enough to understand that, come from that, and tell you about the old school music and all New Kids on the Block and all of that. I explained all of that. That's how you know I'm old school. And then I can explain clout chasing, which is something that came up basically on ground level, on everyday level. That's probably the last 10, 12 years, something like that. For people that really have the mentality. I mean, for it to be a collective mentality. And that's what's driving this situation. It ain't hard to understand. You know, you just come from a different generation, and you trying to figure it out by the stuff they telling you. You simple-minded and trying to use what they telling you as a compass of what to do. And that's not a compass of what to do. Once you started a game of madness, it's a means to an end. Because you ain't gonna ever be able to get people off of it until we affect the system and shut down the systems to where they can't get food, they can't get water. Now they ain't gonna be worried about no game. You see how bad it became, right? It became so bad that, glory to Yahweh, that the only way to stop it is to shut down the system. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. It's from city to city. It's from coast to coast. The only way we're going to shut that down is to shut down the system. That's it. Ain't nobody stupid. It's from city to city. I already know that. Okay, so then I'm not thinking like a simple person. You thought I was. You didn't think I could do anything about it until you understood my mindset. You see? My mindset is because my conclusion is because all these people started all these problems, right? And the whole country, the whole American country was helping them. Then that's the nail in the coffins for the whole country to suffer. I hate to tell you. That's the nails in the coffin for the whole country to suffer. If you hadn't used the whole country and you just went out here on your own, but you thought it would be cool to get the community involved, and then they want to fall back when it's convenient for them when the stuff started getting bad. If you hadn't done that, then we would put the liability on you, but you used all this community. So whether I want it to happen or not, or you want it to happen or not, God is going to put the liability where it belongs, whether they're young or old. And so you're going to see a lot of young people suffer. Street punks, because they played and participated in this foolishness, and that's what it is. And see, until that part is acknowledged, like I just said it, like that, you're going to be out here simple, like they want you to be. You're going to be out here simple, talking about something about me and my sexual history and some. This has become an innovative game of clout chasing. Basically, where people are trying to promote themselves. Basically, if you don't understand clout chasing, in a nutshell, it's a person that's trying to promote themselves. They doing stuff to promote them. They'll do anything to promote themselves, which explains the situation. That's all it is. Ain't nobody, well, they ain't worried about that. That's foolishness. They ain't worried about nobody's history. These bugged out people, they ain't worried about that. They using that while old simps is stupid to clout chase. And what we concluded as a younger and older generation, that's I got that OG status. And that's why I smash a street pump easy. You know what I'm saying? Because I just got that upper hand. You know, as far as being on that OG status. On that OG status, as far as that, which means experience in this case. That experience, me being older and using street wisdom that most people they age don't even use. That's what's gonna make me win ultimately. But I'm just as cutthroat as somebody that's 19. You know, I'm just as cutthroat. And that's the balance, and that's what people find out. Okay, I ain't like these old dudes. I'm just as cutthroat as these young dudes. That's what they realizing, and I'm gonna put that in my war, and make it work in my war. You know what I'm saying? In God's kingdom, where okay. Because cutthroat to me is just it's just not as simple as you might think. It's a no bull crap policy. First of all, it's a no bull crap policy when I ain't playing no games with nobody. That's cutthroat to me. Cutthroat at face value, as far as behavior, is a person that's not playing any games. It's a serious-minded person that hands out destruction to people that's playing games. Quick destruction. So you can put that in war. You can put that in war, man. You can put that in war, man. You know, and it's also people here being entertained by this whole situation too. It's that too. See, if the authorities and people, the military and police and stuff like that don't know what's going on, basically you allow young people to play a game that they don't want to stop. That's basically it. And because you allowed it, they kind of got you on credibility. I mean, integrity. You can't really say nothing to them because you let it go on for so long. What you gonna say now? And then the community was helping them and going along with it. What you gonna really say? Ain't nothing you can really say, man. You know what I'm saying? Because without, you kind of contradicted yourself. You was part of it. See, and that's going to be determined. That's going to be considered. That is considered. And so it takes somebody like me that's young and old. I'm at that nice sweet spot right now where I'm young and old. And there's no way in the world you can think this is just gonna go away. Okay, so then what's supposed to be done? What's supposed to be done is the systems have to be shut down. And see, the only way to understand that is to first understand the extremity of what they're doing. Okay? Look at the extremity of what they're doing. Okay, so an extreme action has to have an extreme reaction. That's just how it is. An extreme action has to have an extreme reaction. And that's just what it is, man. And so if you look at my reaction, then you're gonna think the extreme of my reaction is irrational because you haven't first looked at the extreme situation, the extremity of their actions. Playing the game from coast to coast, playing around with the community, people handing out money for them to play with Christians, gang stalking Christians from coast to coast in every city.
That's what's going on. All you gotta do is look on YouTube and see monitoring spirit, Christian messages on monitoring spirits. So it's a lot of Christians that's going through it, and they're not, they're presenting it like it's just me. Like I'm a poster boy for what they're doing to other Christians. That's how you need to hear it. But the Jedi mind trick is I'm the only one going through it. That's how they play the simps in the culture and the simps in the community. It's like I'm the only one going. I'm not the only one going through it. They doing this to all the Christians. The same thing. What you see I'm going through. See, I thought I was the only one too, until I went on the internet and I was like, just watching these videos, and I'm like, man, that's the same thing I'm going through. So then it dawned on me eventually that they was doing this to everybody. You see what I'm saying? They was doing this to everyone. And that's how you need to hear it. They was doing this to everyone. Okay, they was doing this to most of the Christians, the famous Christians, and the influential Christians on YouTube, and got social media platforms all over the internet. Anybody that's influential as a Christian, they was gang stalking them and using witchcraft against them. Okay? Now you see why it's the end. Because an old simp thinking it's just me. And they've been doing this to all these influential Christians, any famous Christians. And Christians in their community, like Christian churches in their community, they've been probably gang stalking that too. Just random churches that's in these communities where they are, where these gang stalkers are, they've been gang stalking those churches probably too. This is how far it went. In part of that is clout chasing and all of that, and you know, it ain't no way you can say it's not. See, that's understanding the younger generations and these internet generations, because it's not just young people, it's the internet generations too, which is old people. All this clout chasing, they all on it. You know what I'm saying? They ain't just a whole pack of young people, it's old people too that's clout chasing. They part of it. So you just gotta know what's going on in the times. If an old head come out here, he ain't gonna know what's going on. He or she ain't gonna know what's going on. So if you thought I was like them, I'm not. That's how I won. You know what I'm saying? Because I met fire with fire. I was just as cutthroat as these. I was just as much of a savage as they thought they was. I was more of a savage than they thought they was. You know, and I took care of my business. I did what I supposed to do. That's why I get my respect in the present day and time. Because I know what I'm dealing with. I know I'm around a whole bunch of crazy people. Smoking weed, getting high all the time, bugged out. You know what I'm saying? And of course, it's gonna come a certain mentality out of that that's not quite right. You know, that's based on weed, based on getting high and drinking all the time. It's gonna spawn all kind of mentality. Right after that, right during that, during the times when they doing all of this stuff, it's gonna spawn getting high, smoking weed, and drinking. It's gonna spawn a whole new mentality. Just from doing it, from generation to generation, and that's part of it too. So now that you know, I speak from experience, not just off some halfway, what you thought washed up out of the now kind of person that don't really know what's going on now. I'm too involved. I've been in the streets too long to not know what's going on. I listen to what people talk about. I keep my ear to the streets. I listen to the streets too much not to know what's going on. You know what I mean? Because that's all I'm gonna go after. I'm gonna go in the street lane and listen and update myself on that. And what I found out is just a lot of people that's just clout chasers, chasing for fame, thirst trapping, and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's all they doing. If you old, and you know, I say that respectfully, you know, you're out the now. You're out the loop of what's going on. So you're gonna approach it based on what you heard. You know what I mean? You're gonna be old school and keep testing me like, but anybody now in the times we live in know that The testimony by itself means nothing. If you just got testimony, that don't mean nothing. You gotta have testimony and evidence. You can't just have testimony. People lie. People manipulate. That's common sense. Okay, you might have been lied to. You ever thought about that? Oh, that didn't cross your mind. It didn't cross your mind that maybe you heard a good lie. That never crossed your mind because you're a simple person. You don't want to admit it, but you're simple in certain areas. Okay, well, this is how we know. When it comes to children, you're a simple person. Somebody tell you something about children, you believe everything you heard. Me, I don't. I'm not simple because people start talking about children. You are. And you proved it as a community. As a community, you proved to be simple when people start talking about children. That's what you proved. And now I know you know that. Because you see with everything that happened and how it happened, now you know you've been bamboozled. So then you realize I'm right. You was simple when it comes to children. I'm not. I don't listen. See, you think that make you a bad person to challenge people that's talking about children. I don't feel that way. Because me being black, I'm gonna look at besides the subject matter, when you accusing somebody of something, because I'm black and I'm used to seeing people accused of things and going to jail for stuff they didn't do. Uniquely, because of the culture I come from in America, I'm not just gonna believe nothing that somebody tell me about what somebody did or accuse of somebody. See, that's the difference between black America and white America. White America gonna just, they don't got no experience, and they ain't see their families and people like them being accused and do 20 years in prison for something they ain't do. But when you keep saying that over and over again, you gonna think, I ain't believing nothing until they got evidence of it. That's how, because you see your own people, how they treated. They go through 20, 30 years in prison for something they ain't even do. And then they get out, and then America say, oh, we didn't know, we found out that it wasn't you after 30 years. Can you imagine being that guy? You in prison for 20 years, and you know you didn't do it. Can you imagine being him? It's unforgivable, man. That person can never get that time back. It's over. They do 20 years in prison. Their life is over, bro. A good portion of their life is over. They gonna hate the judge. They gonna hate the justice system forever. They gonna hate it forever, bro. They gonna hate the justice system forever. So with that being said, if somebody says something about somebody doing something, they got to show and tell. They got to prove that. You got to prove that. You got to have evidence these days. You got the internet. You got to have numbers. You got to have stuff from the internet. You got to have people making videos like I'm doing. You got to have all that kind of stuff. You can't just have no testimony like you in 1972. That's what an old head gonna come out here and make a mistake of doing. You gonna come out here, an old head could be 30s, people in their 30s. You gonna come out here playing around and you ain't got no evidence. And you gonna make a fool of yourself. And you can try psychological stuff, you can do, that ain't gonna be enough for our generations now. Psychological, really? That's not gonna hold up, buddy. That's not gonna hold up. You gotta have evidence. You gotta have receipts. That's how people call it. You gotta have receipts. If you don't have no receipts, listen, buddy, you wasting your time. Just like you have. You wasted all this time because you ain't have no receipts. So I just weathered everything you was doing. I weathered all the accusations. I weathered all the crazy people. I weathered all the operations, all the stuff you did, and now I'm right here, still talking in my right mind, still talking common sense, talking better sense than you as a community, talking better than you as a community, and making all the sense in this community. While you wasted all that time. And that's why that's another reason why they don't want to let it go. Because they done wasted so much time that it makes them want to keep going on. So with that being said, what you think we gonna do? We have to be, unfortunately, because this is God's kingdom, we rule everything. See, that's the part, that's what's gonna help you understand why we even think like it's a lost cause. Because once God's people is attacked, not just me, buddy. That's the culture people that think it's just me. The jungle knows it's all these Christians. I'm gonna say that again now. The culture think it's just me because I'm the strongest, one of the strongest people that's being gangsta. So they put all this cameo on me, right? But the jungle, the streets, know it's all these people. It's a lot of these people that say they're Christians. It's a lot of them, right? They the ones that it's all of us that's going through this. I even realized it. This is how you know I ain't got no mental sickness, because I don't have this complex like I'm the only one going through something. That's a sign of being schizophrenic paranoid, is you think you the only one going through it. How you know I'm in my right mind is I realized it's a lot of people going through it. I went online and at the point where I really realized other people were going through it, I already knew how to identify everything I was going through, right? I could spell it out like I'm spelling it out now. So then when I heard other people spell it out, I'm like, oh, okay, that's the same thing I'm going through. So then I realized it was a nationwide attack against Christians. And see, they can't spell that out in plain English because they're supposed to be a Christian country. So imagine them telling the community that they've been gang stalking Christians. You ain't gonna agree with it. If you don't understand why they didn't tell you, it's because you wouldn't agree with it. You would not agree as Americans with Christians being gang stalked because you got Christians in your family, right? Even though you're in the streets, you might even use witchcraft. Some of you, but you believe in live and let live because you got Christians in your family, right? So you wouldn't go as far. Some people that use witchcraft that don't gang stalk, right? You wouldn't go as far as gang stalking Christians, right? So they couldn't tell nobody. They couldn't tell the whole community that you got to read between the lines. And see, now the truth has come out because the prophet is the only one that said it in plain English. Nah, it needs to be said. It needs to be said. The Bible says it's a time to speak and it's a time to not speak, right? But there comes a time, and I'm paraphrasing, there comes a time where it's time to speak. It's time to speak. It's time to speak and let people know, yeah, they've been gang stalking all these Christians. That's important information. So now you can say, oh, wow, now I see why God stood up and did this to our community. Okay, yeah. It wasn't just me. They tried to make it seem like it was me so that you would think that something needed to be done about me in a funny way. That I'm the one causing this stuff. Nope. They gang stalked a whole bunch of Christians for fun. Street punks. Thinking they was going to go to war with Christians. So you see what happened? Street punks thought they was going to war with Christians. Okay, so now you see the situation. So this is beyond me. This is why they don't feel the need to pay me. You know why? Because in their conscience, in their mind, they did it to other people too. So why pay me is what they thinking. Why they owe me a bag and all these other people going through the same thing? Because this is why. No differently than why you'll run off on a sucker, but you'll pay a gangster when you owe a gangster. Okay, you won't pay these other people. And I ain't saying that about the other people in God's kingdom, of course, in the terms of, punks or anything. But you realize a threat over there when you see a gangster, right? So if you owe a gangster money, you're gonna go get that bag. It don't matter if you're a gangster yourself. And this is the reason why, because if he don't get you, he gonna get your family. This is why you have to do it, even if you think you're just as bad as this other gangster. I'm gonna show you why, for street punks, why even gangsters go get money in bags for other people when they violate in the streets, because this person will go around and get your family. Matter of fact, they might do that initially so that you go get the money. They might hold your family for ransom so that you go get the bag. So before that even come up, that it gets to that point, you gonna go get the bag for that gangster. Cause he ain't playing no games about that bag. And it's people that's going, you will be amazed, stuff that don't make the news, where people are going through that right now. Black people, family being held, kidnapped, going for ransom, all of that. Ain't making the news or nothing. You can't be simple-minded. Of course it's going on. People holding people, families and stuff, that stuff don't always make the news. But it's happening, I guarantee it's happening. And, people gonna go get that bag. They gonna go get that bag, buddy. You gonna go get that bag when you know your family might get attacked. Okay? So, when you attacked me, I can enforce. I have to speak for myself. I can enforce on you as a spiritual soldier, which means, and some Christians haven't come to this level of authority. Okay, we got different levels of authority, and I'm gonna definitely be biblical about it. The prophet Elijah, he cursed those children in 2 Kings, right? The prophet Elisha cursed the children. When he cursed the children, it did not say God did that to the children. It said the prophet did it, which means he was given authority to do that. See, we talk about authority, but not in this context. In this context, the prophet was not told by God, you're going to be walking and I'm going to curse the children. Or an angel didn't come to him and tell him, we're going to curse the children. He had the authority himself. This is real spiritual authority. The power to enforce right in the instant. Right in an instant, you can curse. And it goes through, and God didn't say he was going to do it. He honored you cursing them. He honored it. And and this shows you how serious authority is. Because most people in modern day time would say, if kids were kind of picking at you as a man of God, you should have probably just let that go. Most Christians gonna say that, I don't pay that no attention. They probably got spirits, they probably do, but don't pay that no attention. Don't curse the children. Pray for them if anything, right? That's not what the prophet Elijah did, whether you like it or not. See, I'm to the point to tell people whether you like it or not, this is what happened. As opposed to you not liking it and then suppressing the information, but you don't want to confront the information. You don't want to confront the reality of that, the fact that it happened. So because you don't like it, you just suppress the reality of it. You suppress the reality of it because you don't like it. So I'm to the point where I exposed that type of information, so to speak, in the Bible that you might not necessarily like it, but it happened. It's the reality of how it is, whether you like it or not. And right there, I mean, you have most of the Christians in America say, well, I wouldn't have cursed the children. But God allowed it to happen, didn't he? And see, that's why I want you to realize, yes, God allowed it to happen. And that's that, buddy. And so now you have a greater understanding of God, don't you? Well, if it's something that you don't agree with, but this is how God is, you're getting a greater understanding of God outside of yourself, outside of what you would have did. But what God did, what his kingdom did. Now you understand God's way of doing things as opposed to your way. And some people, they say they're Christians, but when it comes to things like this, and it's a war, and the war pops off, everybody want to get lovey-dovey. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not lovey-dovey. So many Christians are so simple in America. When something happens, the first thing you want to do is get lovey-dovey. The prophet Elisha didn't get lovey-dovey. He seen what happened. He seen they was playing in his face. Literally, he cursed them. And God honored the curse. Now, didn't he? God honored the curse, didn't he? That's all I'm talking about, man. God honored the curse. And so right there is where you have to be mature enough to accept the reality of the word of God. Not my opinion. You see what I'm saying? Not because I got beef or it's perceived that way. Not because I feel like these things about America. This word of God was already established before I was even born. That's what I'm trying to show you. So if you're not smart, you'll think that this is a biased message. But how's a biased message when this already happened before I was born? As it did, having nothing to do with me or my situation. The prophet Elijah cursed the children and they died, man. 42 of them was torn apart. Now, I'm going to reference to that to help you understand what God is going to do in my situation. Or to help you understand my mentality. That's biblical. Where the prophet Elijah cursed children, so who are you to tell me I'm wrong for cursing those who oppose me? See what I'm saying? See, that's too much truth for you. Because it doesn't fit American usual personality. American Christian personality. That's how it needs to be said. That's 7 out. It doesn't fit American Christian personality. Where I'm this happy, smiling, nice guy like Ned Flanders. And that's what you're hung up on. You're hung up on a style of Christianity. You're hung up on a certain style of Christianity. I don't live a certain style of Christianity. I go by the word of God. That's my Christianity. The word of God. If it's in that Bible, that's what I go by. Okay? And when I see that the man of God cursed children and they died, I'm not a simple-minded person. Okay? I know that means I can do the same thing. I know that it definitely means I can curse those who are playing with my life. Those who are gang stalking me. While you talk about love and hate, I can show you where the prophet Elijah cursed children. And the people that's playing in my life is grown men and women. And you telling me I can't curse them? Because whether you go by that scripture, bless and curse not, the bottom line is the kids still got cursed and God allowed it to happen. So there's a place in God's kingdom that you can curse people, okay? And it's valid in God's kingdom, whether you agree with it or not. I'm not asking you to agree with it. I'm telling you, this is the scripture, this is what it is, besides my opinion and your opinion. This is besides my opinion and your opinion. And so if it's valid in God's kingdom for a child or people to be cursed, that's a valid operation. That's a valid operation in God's kingdom, not in witchcraft. Then you have to admit that when the scripture says bless and curse not, that still did not make invalid a curse that was valid, that is valid in the Bible. It didn't make that curse invalid. You have to understand the full context of everything. So basically what I'm saying is, when the scripture says bless and curse not, right? The scripture where it shows us the prophet Elijah in operation in cursing the children, right? That scripture that says bless and curse not does not mean now the operation that the prophet Elijah had to curse the children is now invalid. It did not make that invalid. In other words, it did not make the curse of the Lord invalid. The Bible says the prophet Elisha cursed him in the name of the Lord, right? Okay, so there's a valid curse in the name of the Lord. There's a valid curse in the name of the Lord, right? That's part of the operation of the kingdom of God, whether you agree with it or not. See, everybody, we find out right here that everybody don't agree with the whole word of God. You agree with a certain passages that make you look a certain way. I don't go with certain passages that make me look a certain way. I go with the whole word of God, whether it makes me look crazy or not. And see, that's the test. If you go into the highest level, because some of it might make you look crazy. Well, or you're perceived as crazy by others. It make you look crazy to others, but that's okay. I'm going with the whole word of God. If I see that God's people got cursed children and they died, how I can't curse these people that's gang stalking? Huh? How I can't curse these people that's playing in my face and using witchcraft, and we know that's for sure. But you think I should pray for them? The prophet Elisha didn't pray for the children. The prophet Elijah didn't pray for the children, did he? Okay, so then you think I'm gonna pray for grown men and women? Let's look at it in the same context. Let's look at it in the same definition and context. The prophet Elijah did not curse the children. He didn't pray for them, did he? So why would you expect me to pray for these people? Look at it the same way. They old, musty, old people. They over 30. And you think I'm gonna pray for them? I'm not. I'm not gonna pray for them. I'm gonna be just like the prophet Elijah. I'm gonna curse those who's playing in my face. Okay? And if you are walking around like you don't understand, I just explained it to you, and you're gonna get left behind, because God's kingdom is now at war with America, whether you like it or not, man. This is not even a biased position. This is because of their actions. That's how I want you to look at it. I want you to look at it that this is because of their actions. Okay? Not because of mine. Because of their actions. See, because you're getting finessed. You're getting bamboozled. All over the place. You're getting bamboozled all over the place. These people do all what they want to do, and you act like I'm the one that's the problem. But they've been doing all this stuff. And that's why it's happening. That's why God is doing this to them. And so you can sit up here and act like you don't know what's going on. Guess what's going to happen to you? Guess what's going to happen?
you're gonna be left behind. You're gonna be left behind, bro. You're gonna be left right behind. You're gonna be left right behind, buddy. You're gonna be left right behind because we moving forward with this war, man, whether you like it or not. So for these Christians that you know, see, this is gonna prove, and I'm very certain about this, that there are certain religious people that are not gonna be in sync with us. And look, it's gonna be even some that's going to heaven, but they still not in sync with us. And that's when you learn spiritual maturity at some of the highest heights. There's gonna be people that's gonna go to heaven. Just because they don't agree with you don't mean they ain't gonna go to heaven. Because they live in a clean life, they're living a repentant life before God. And see, it works both ways. Because I don't agree, they don't agree with me, don't mean I ain't going to heaven. But see, I saved it vice versa for them too. That, hey, I can't say you ain't going to heaven, but guess what? I gotta catch up with you later when we get to heaven. But right now we in the war, man, and just be careful when you put your mouth on me. That's all. That's all. Because see, you don't really know what's going on, man. Just be careful when you put your mouth on me. Because remember what happened to Moses and Miriam. I mean, Aaron and Miriam that put their mouth on Moses. And the next message I'm going to be talking about that. You know, this is kind of like an introduction. Because I said a lot of things that needed to be said. See, that's why I go with prophetic messages. Because I go with what needs to be said. You know, but I'm learning also, once it's been said, what needs to be said, don't come back and do it again. In your mind, from your mind. You could do it from the spirit one time and do it from the mind another time. Because certain things needed to be said in the atmosphere, right? Those things reoccur, but you don't need to say it again. See, that takes training. It don't need to be said again. But because those same situations can come back, like the gang stalking, the monitoring spirits, everything, you feel like you need to say it again and again and again. And sometimes you need to go in a progressive war, and I've done that too. But then it comes a time when you need to keep saying it in a progressive war. Not the same thing, but hitting different angles about the same situation, right? It's not saying the same thing, it's hitting different angles on the same situation. But then at some point, you shut it down. That's why I'm not hitting the same thing I used to be talking about. Oh, that's been done. It's been done and it's done with. We're not letting clout chasers, people that's clout chasing and trying to get fame and trying to use this situation to be famous. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. It's because everybody know who I am, so all you got to do is stand in the spotlight. All you got to do is stand next to me. See, I'm smart enough to know that, just like any famous person. They're going to say that they know better than anybody. Okay, you know when people clout chasing. You know, you famous, okay, they want beef with you to be famous. But you ain't going to feed into it. Because you ain't going to give them what they want, which is to be famous off at your expense. You see? See, we're in the complexities of 2026, and some people are simple in 2026. We in the complexities of it. You know, and so after this message, I'm going to be talking about moving forward. I'm going to be talking about how Moses didn't make it to the promised land. You know, he did not make it, and how the black community struck God's people in anger and can't make it to the promised land as a result. Because for my situation, the black people struck me in anger. They struck me in anger. And they're not going to make it to the promised land, so to speak. They're not going to be doing nothing new. The Americans, the same thing. Americans won't make it to the progressive promised land, where they're progressing any further.
progressive new stage, nor will they join a progressive global community because they struck God's people. Okay? That's going to be the message that I'm going to be talking about after this one. That's a prophetic message. I'm going to keep talking about this because I'm about to leave town, so this is going to be basically the last message I'm going to be talking about, and the war genius message about being a war genius, because I'm going down south as a war move. It's going to be a war move where I put my life in a situation outside of this opportunity here in New York because these people play with my life. So I'm going down south and we're going to get revenge the spiritual way, which is the vengeance of the Lord, right? It's the retaliation. It's the repercussions of what people have done. We're going to get that God's way because vengeance is the Lord, right? So when I leave here in New York, that's going to be a part of my strategy as a war genius. Because now I done give so many offerings. See, in a perfect world, I could have done it this way. But we live among people who use their free will to try to stop you and try to play games and try to cloud chase and try to be famous and all of that stuff and try to represent their community and whatever. And represent their group or whatever they come from or whatever. Even their sexual orientation, trying to represent being gay or whatever. And I'm not gonna sit around and let people clout chase off of my life. I know what it is. That's what it is. It's more that than anything else, and that's all that matters. When you know people clout chasing, somebody my age is gonna get up and leave. Now, if you old school, you gonna sit there and show people you can take it all. I'm not. Because while you taking it all, they still are getting certain fame off of your name. Think about it. Okay, you taking it, but you missing the point. You missing the point. The point is, they clout chasing. They getting fame. And they don't deserve it. They not high ranking enough to deserve it. Why? Because you can read minds, so what? But they ain't got all the other numbers. You gotta have more numbers than that. You can't just be a mind reader playing around me. You gotta have numbers, you gotta have information, you gotta have all this other stuff. If you don't got all of that, if you don't got no information, you ain't got no real physical experiences of fighting the Americans like I do. You ain't got no respect for military. I got respect for real military. Me and you cannot be compared to each other. It's not fair to me. Because you haven't went through what I went through. You haven't won the wars I've won. So imagine, just because you can read minds or some little hocus pocus stuff, imagine me being compared to you. So what do? I do what somebody my age or younger would do. I refuse to let people clout chase off of my name. I refuse to let people clout chase off of my respect that I got, that I earned out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? So then I remove myself, whether people think I'm a coward or not. I know I won, and see, so somebody my age know I won. They know I won, and so why sit around? You know what I'm saying? Why sit around and let people clout chase and get try to put on for their little weak group, and that group done fell off, and they don't, secret societies done fell off, and try to recover and save face for them? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. So that's how you know I'm a wise war strategist, tactician. I'm a war tactician, a war genius. I'm not gonna let people get any credibility off of my name, and they don't deserve it. I don't get it, and here's the thing, I don't get nothing from their name. I don't get nothing. I done beat them too bad. I done milked that situation. I ain't gonna get no more respect off of beating these secret societies. I ain't gonna get no more respect off of that. I'm not. I already got all the respect I can get. So see, it comes a point where you done got all the respect you gonna get. Basically, I ain't gonna get no more respect than I already got from beating these people this many times. Everybody know I beat them. Okay, so then think about it. So now it's becoming normal, like for me to beat them, where it ain't getting respected as much as it should be. So then once I got that much respect, where people just looking at it and it don't even really matter, right? Then I done got that. That's an indication that I done got all the respect I can get off of this situation. Then therefore, I'm not getting any more respect, no real respect off of it. It's more easier for them to get respect off of me than them. And I'm the one winning. I'm the one winning though. They can get respect off of my name and be looked at in a different light. And if I beat them, what I get? What I get if I beat the people in this building one more time, one more month, year? What I get from it? Nothing. Because people already done see me beat them already. So then that's when you realize, you use your intuition. Okay, I beat them good enough where I ain't gonna get no more respect off of this situation. Ain't nobody gonna be like, yeah, a month from now, yeah, like 3 months from now. It's already done. I already got the respect. So then it's over. That's how you know when you ain't get no more respect for it. When people treating it like it's nothing. When even the people you beating treating it like it's nothing. Once that happens, you know you got all the respect you can get off of it. So then I'm just sitting around in this position and they waiting to get respect off of me. You see what I'm saying? Which is clout chasing, basically. It's not the same thing as a war. Clout chasing and a war is not even the same thing, buddy. I'm at war, they clout chasing. That's why they do reckless stuff. And to you that you think that's a war. No, that's doing reckless stuff to get attention. That's doing reckless stuff for people to pay attention to them. That's why you can't even pay attention to the stuff they say. The reckless stuff they say and do is all for clout chasing reasons. That's how smart I am. That's how you know I ain't no old head. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I don't know about that. So that's another reason why I'm moving on, because it just don't, like with my numbers right now, bro, let me talk about that right quick. With my numbers right now, I shouldn't even be dealing with no competitors, people that's competing with me. I did too good. I mean, I'm talking about life-changing good. Like, yeah. Like, how dare somebody even think they can compete with what all that has happened? It's no secret that America's my enemy. It's no secret that I have been in spiritual war with them. And now that finally things are happening, people want to act like now they gonna use people to compete with me? Now that people see the truth, that my war is successful, you think I'm gonna sit around and let random people play in my face? No. That's when you have to, even if it's at the expense of a comfortable situation, for your credibility, you got to remove yourself. You got to. That's what I'm doing. If it was a situation where people act like they knew what was going on, like even this building, like the organization, even if they act like they knew what was going on and they gave me an apartment and it wasn't no strings attached, it wasn't because I got a hunch that you're trying to keep me in the grid, you're trying to keep me under control, and that's why you're trying to now throw me in an apartment because you really want me to be under control in another situation, then I would have took the apartment. But once I knew they only trying to give me an apartment because I was going to another place, they was stupid enough to do that. My caseworker, I'm in this building where I'm waiting for an apartment, right? My caseworker hadn't talked to me in 9 months, the whole time I was here in New York. Not at all. 10 months, excuse me. It's 10 months now. But it was 9 months when she finally called me. Okay, can you imagine that it was a coincidence that she called me on the same day after 9 months of not calling me, coming seeing me? This person's supposed to do it, but she's an enemy. So she probably was using witchcraft, right? Obeah, because she's Jamaican, so she probably was using Obeah, right? So that's the real reason why she wasn't contacting me, because she was using witchcraft. But she hadn't contacted me in 9 months. She was supposed to contact me every 2 to 3 months. Nothing. She didn't come by. Other people came by. She never called me. She never texted me until the day that I went and tried to find housing somewhere else. What would you think? You ain't talked to this person 9 months, not by email. This person got some emails on you. They listen. They had emails on me, bro. This person ain't emailed me. This person ain't tried to contact me at all. But the day you try to get housing in another place, the same day that you got an interview for housing somewhere else, this person calls you after 9 months, the same day. What's the coincidence? Think about that. And the thing was, it wasn't even a Monday. I could see if it was a Monday, and then she thinking that, oh, at the top of the week, this was Tuesday, which is a smart person realized that the odds is even worse, because I could see if you tried to contact me on a Monday, like at your top of the do list, at the top of the week for an apartment, but you contacted me an odd day after Monday. And the odds are you was trying to stop me from going somewhere else. That's what it was. They were trying to stop me from going somewhere else, which means this grid I was talking about, telling you about earlier, they was trying, that other place they was going to give me, this other apartment was going to be a grid just like this. What would be the other purpose for you trying to block me from going somewhere else? Because you want me to stay on a grid. You want me to stay in a building that's similar to this environment, where the grocery store, everything is all rigged up, and all these people are enemies. So if I go to another program and get housing somewhere else, I'm off the grid. Now you ain't got me under surveillance. Now you can't watch me because I done went to another organization and got housing somewhere else. So as soon as I did that, they called me the same day, which means they've been watching my emails and everything, which means it's a government effort. That's how I look at it. It's a government effort. Because how they know your emails, how they know the calls you're making, that's got to be a government effort. Okay? So, with that being said, why would I take an apartment from the people and you put me in the same situation again? See, I realized that this place, 3 different places they put me on the grid. This same organization that was supposed to give me housing here, like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they waited because they was trying to beat me to the community, to accuse me. So they kept me here long enough to try to accuse my mind. And accuse, that's the only thing they could try to accuse, is your brain. So they kept me here long enough to try to accuse my brain, but it didn't work. Okay? And then when I finally decided to leave, now you're going to try to give me an apartment. The same day. What's the odds? I can see if this person was contacting me all the time. Not one time did she contact me. Not once. Not even once. Until I decided to leave. That means to me that you were trying to keep me on the grid. This other apartment would have been on a grid of me being watched. When I say a grid, that means you're watched like someone overseeing a grid. Overseeing everything that goes on, which means even in the building you live in. Each from room to room, all around the neighborhood, the grocery stores, the phone place, everything all on the grid. And it'll look like they're trying to help you, but it's all on a grid. It's all a game. The odds are, if in the last 3 places they sent me, the same place called housing, the last 3 places, Astoria Boulevard, Jamaica, Queens, and here in Brooklyn on Utica Avenue. All three places was gang stalking. All three places was psychological witchcraft and telepaths and psychics. All three places. What's the odds the fourth place is not the same thing? What's the odds? What's the odds the fourth place is not the same thing? A wise person gonna say, you done did me like this 3 times, strike 3 and you out. Strike 3 and you out, buddy. This is the 3rd place they done this. And they made me wait here for 9 months. This place gives out housing in New York. This is New York City. New York is fast, right? So if you're not aware of that and you're not discerning, you would think, well, housing can take 2 years. If you're on a list, this is not a list. These people get paid to put people in apartments, not a house. So that's going to be even quicker, if that makes sense, because it's an apartment. It's not a house. They got all kind of units. If you can imagine, an organization like this got all kind of units all the time. So they already had a place for me to be already. They did. They didn't give me. They didn't check with me to see if I wanted the options that they had available. This is back to the caseworker. She didn't do that. They sat back for 9 months. What would you think? Almost a year. June will be a year that I've been in this program. This program gave me housing in 2 months and some change time the first time. This is the second time I got housing from these people. The reason why I left the first time, because I went down south to get married, right? It didn't work out. I came back up here. They made me sit in housing for 9 months, which was nothing but surveillance. The Americans told them to keep me here. They paid them to keep me here, or they are part of it and kept me here with the Americans, or they was paid off to do it. Because the last time it was less than three months. So what would you think? You got housing after COVID. Can't say it was because of COVID. This was after COVID. So it only got better. That was in 2021, right? So you would think it only got better, not worse. I can see if it was, you got the first apartment before COVID. Now after COVID is slower, right? This was all after COVID. All of it was after COVID. So it only got better as far as things like this. In fact, this is unaffected. This is not affected by that. COVID, all this stuff going on ain't gonna affect this kind of situation. I know this for sure. Nothing affected this situation. They kept me in this place on purpose. That's what I'm trying to show you. And then when I tried to get housing somewhere else, then they tried to give me a little apartment. But that would have been on a grid, and that was the whole point. They wanted to keep me on a grid, and if I wanted to leave, they'll go ahead and be desperate enough to go ahead and give me the place so I stay on the grid instead of leaving. Instead of leaving, I'm gonna just keep it on the grid, so I'm gonna throw this other place. But I know that's on the grid too. You see what I'm saying? So that's why my strategy now, I would like to have stayed up here. But as you can see from all of this that's been done to me, why would I go to another place when my objective is already accomplished? America is almost on the verge of collapsing because of this war in Iran, the gas prices and everything. Don't let them fool you. You know, this stuff is getting bad. It's gonna get bad. So my objective has already been accomplished. This is overtime, like I explained it before. I don't have to be here. So when I don't have to be here and I know they're gonna put me on another grid, what you think I'm gonna do? And then my objective is already accomplished. I'm gonna leave because my objective is already accomplished. And why am I put myself through another situation? Now, if I hadn't accomplished my objective, I might have would have done it. I might have would have done it because I needed more time to be at a good spot as far as the collapsing of this system of America. But now with this war in Iran, you see what I'm saying? I'm in a good space. I got options. The option to now, I don't really have to do this. And this stuff is still gonna collapse. So I'd rather take all the disrespect that they gave me, bundle it up when I leave, because when I uproot myself, then the repercussions start. So that's going to start another type of war from God, which that is like me giving myself as an offering for more of the war to happen, as a war genius, for more of this to happen. That's another reason I'm doing it. I need more results. This war, like, it's kind of tipsy, it's kind of getting better. I need escalation. So and now they got this 2-week ceasefire.